not entirely new. A similar technical directive was also enforced in 2021 until the end of 2022. In 2023, though, the technical directive, which was more or less a solution to a temporary problem, was included in the set regulations. Since this year, the flexibility allowed is more precisely defined in the regulations. But now it is necessary to reintroduce the technical directive to close down on loopholes that teams have found throughout the year, especially through certain interpretations of the text in the rules, as Formula 1 teams always do. Goss has said, but over the season, we felt that there has been a little bit too much creep in the design details of aerodynamic concepts and components. The FIA has been paying explicit attention to 4 main issues. The first indicates movement. Up, down, front, rear, left, and right of the wings relative to components that it is connected to. The second is more or less the same, but says that the wings are also not allowed to rotate relative to other components. Thirdly, elastic components are also not allowed. Materials that can move under certain pressure and then easily bend back to their original shape. Finally though, components with a soft and bendable edge on the back are also prohibited. This material could prevent cracking due to deflection. So a lot of loopholes closed now in the regulations by the FIA, just trying to crack down on any little loopholes that teams are able to find and where they're able to just eke out any little bit of performance. Maybe this is Red Bull, maybe this is some of the other teams. We don't necessarily know who this is aimed at, or maybe this is just general loopholes being changed by the FIA, things that they've maybe done research and found that they're just closing it down to make sure that there is fairer racing going forward into the future. And hopefully this does maybe cause a bit of an upset in the Singapore Grand Prix and we see other teams being a little bit closer to each other. Maybe Red Bull falls back a little bit due to these regulations coming in. We will have to wait and see. Let us know what you think in the comment section. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports for another daily news video here in another race week. Very exciting once again to be in a race week, and nonetheless it is the Singapore Grand Prix race week, a very exciting one coming up this weekend. Yeah, looking forward to it. Let's though get into our first article here. Helmut Marko has finally come out and apologized for his offensive remarks about Sergio Perez. The Red Bull consultant, Helmut Marko, has apologized for blaming Mexican driver Sergio Perez's fluctuation in form on his cultural heritage. The 80-year-old Austrian, who is an advisor to the dominant Formula 1 team, issued a formal statement on Friday via the Service TV website. I would like to apologize for my offensive remark and want to make it absolutely clear that I do not believe that we can generalize about the people from any country, any race, and any ethnicity, Marko said. I was trying to make a point that Sergio Perez has fluctuated in his performance this year, but it was wrong to attribute this to his cultural heritage, Marko added. Marko, a former racer and close friend of the late Red Bull owner Dietrich Mateschitz, had made his remarks on the energy drinks company's television station following last weekend's Italian Grand Prix at Monza, wrongly describing Sergio Perez as South American. We know that he has problems in qualifying, he has fluctuations in form. He is South American and he is just not as completely focused in his head as Max Verstappen is or Sebastian Vettel. These are the comments that landed him in that hot water. And yeah, it is not the first time that Marko has referred to Perez as being from South America. The Mexican, though, comes from Guadalajara, which is geographically in North America. An earlier attempt by Marko to clarify his comments only dug him in deeper. Yeah, certainly not going too well for the Austrian of Helmut Marko there. With the Austrian news website OE24 reporting Marko as saying it wasn't meant that way. I meant that a Mexican has a different mentality than a German or a Dutchman, but who knows, maybe it is controlled. Yeah, and as I said, that landed him even hotter water. While Marko attends races in Red Bull racing uniform, he reports to the energy drink company and is not an employee of the British-based Formula 1 champions, who had no media comment. Nevertheless, Marko's ill-advised comments have sparked an online backlash among fans and made headlines in Mexico. This cannot keep happening to Sergio Perez, declared motorsport website The Race on Friday. He deserves better than to have to grin and bear derogatory comments from a senior figure in Red Bull's Formula One organization. The way Helmut Marko talks about him needs to stop. I certainly agree with this. Yeah, a lot of people having a lot of backlash over Helmut Marko's comments, and then continuing with this feed, with this comment here, the Red Bull Racing Daily feed on social media site X, formerly known as Twitter, commented or commended Marko's comments in a statement to its 35,000 followers. Such comments will not be tolerated. A racial stereotype was used to criticize his performance, which is absolutely disgraceful and inexcusable, it said. Perez joined Red Bull in 2021 with the team looking for a solid driver to support Dutch teammate Max Verstappen, who is now heading to his third world title, with Germany's Vettel having won 4 world titles for Red Bull from 2010 to 2013. The Mexican has won 6 races, 2 of them this season, and has a contract until 2024. He is second overall in the championship, but is 145 points behind his teammate Max Verstappen right now, and his future in the team is kind of unknown at this moment. Marko did compliment Perez for finishing second in Italy last weekend, a race that handed Verstappen a 10th victory in a row. He has had a very good race, overtaking 3 drivers in George Russell and the Ferraris, which was not easy, said the Austrian. Yeah, well, glad that Helmut Marko has finally come out and apologized for his derogatory comments against Sergio Perez, and glad that he has finally come out and done all of that. Moving on though to our next article, staying on the topic of Red Bull though, Sebastian Vettel has been reunited with Red Bull's RB7 in a Nordschleife demonstration run. Sebastian Vettel was reunited with his 2011 title-winning Red Bull RB7 during this last weekend ahead of the annual 12-hour endurance race at the Nürburgring. The 4-time Formula One world champion took to the full 15.7-mile combined Nordschleife and Grand Prix track as part of Red Bull's Formula Nürburgring event, alongside a host of other high-profile drivers, riders, and vehicles, including David Coulthard in a 2012 RB8, which was originally set to be driven by Daniel Ricciardo. Until the Austrian was ruled out, of course, due to his broken wrist. Sebastian Vettel drove his RB7 on the run, one of 5 cars built by Red Bull for the 2011 season, and one of 4 currently in service as a running show car for Red Bull promotional events. Chassis number 1 was driven by Mark Webber at that year's Monaco Grand Prix. Just find where I was. But was not campaigned by Vettel himself, who drove chassis number 3 for the first 12 races of the season before moving to chassis number 5. Vettel said, "The sound was great. Fortunately, I still fit in the seat," Vettel said in an Instagram live video broadcast after he tested the car on Friday ahead of the event. The feel for the car came back straight away, and it was fantastic. Obviously, the cars are a little bit smaller than they are now, but they are also a lot tighter and a lot more agile. I'm very proud of that. I haven't gotten fat yet. It was a lot of fun." The car was being run on synthetic carbon-neutral fuel, previously showcased by Vettel at the 2022 British Grand Prix with a 1992 Williams FW14B that he owns, and at the Goodwood Festival of Speed this year with the Williams and a 1993 McLaren MP4-8, also from Vettel's own collection. "I feel like I'm in a time capsule. Lots of memories come back," said Vettel. "Everything fits together here today, including the fact that we now use synthetic, i.e. CO2 neutral fuels. Motorsport is my great passion and I want to preserve the sport. Fuels can be produced synthetically and serve as a substitute. This may not be the only solution, but it is part of the solution. It is important that we all realize that we have to do something, and the best thing that you can do is not feel any difference in the car. It's just as much fun." It was Vettel's first time driving the RB7 since November 2014, when he drove the car in a demonstration run in Dubai, while his and Coulthard's lap at the Nürburgring marked the first time in a decade that modern Formula One machinery has taken to the Nordschleife, which was last used for a Grand Prix in 1976. Michael Schumacher made his final public appearance driving in a Formula 1 car in 2013 when he took a 2011 W02 out ahead of that year's 24-hour of Nürburgring. In 2007, Nick Heidfeld drove a BMW Sauber F106 on the track as well. Also in attendance at Formula Nürburgring was Gerhard Berger, driving a 1995 Ferrari F12 T2. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW FW25 that he won in the 2003 European Grand Prix, as well as a host of other cars as well. As Yuki Tsunoda, the AlphaTauri driver, driving a Honda NSX GT3. So a very, very massive lineup of drivers and cars there this past weekend at the Red Bull Nordschleife run. I mean, I would have loved to have been there. That must have been an incredible, incredible event to have been a part of, and an incredible event to have gone and watched. Mark there saying in the comment section that Vettel needs to come back to Formula 1. I completely agree, but unfortunately, I don't think we will get him back in the sport anytime soon, unfortunately. But glad to at least have seen him in a car this last weekend, and always glad to see that smile of Sebastian Vettel's back in a Formula 1 car and back under his iconic racing helmets. Moving on though to some highlights ahead of this weekend's Singapore Grand Prix. Big Singapore upgrades are set to fire Red Bull's new plan to life. Red Bull's dominant ground effect concept might yield more success as AlphaTauri's significant upgrades for Singapore are introduced. Since the start of the 2022 season, Red Bull's concept with their RB18 and RB19 has been the clear leader, as the Milton Keynes-based team have romped win after win, and are closing in on securing both titles once again this season. While there were plenty of different approaches taken by other teams at the start of the 2022 Converge, the Converge has been a key topic as rivals have abandoned their own concepts in order to switch to Red Bull's, or at least attempt to emulate as closely as possible. AlphaTauri are one of the teams that are set for a major concept change, with Red Bull's second team, AlphaTauri, having set out with their own design philosophy for the ground effect area, but unlike their senior team, have met with precious little success. While the Red Bull romp to the titles, their second team are currently last in the Constructors Championship and have scored just 3 points in 14 weekends of racing. AlphaTauri are set for a revolution in 2024, with a name change and new sponsors coming on board, while long-time team boss Franz Tost will retire and hand over the reins to new team boss Laurent Mekies and CEO Peter Bayer. Between now and the end of the season, AlphaTauri will also have to get used to a new car concept, with Bayer confirming to PlanetFormula1.com that they will converge on Red Bull's design philosophy, with a major upgrade coming to the AT04 at the Singapore Grand Prix this weekend. There are no quick gains, Bayer told Planet F1, about how AlphaTauri will work more closely with Red Bull going forward. I mean, this year we've seen some amazing changes in the results scheme, when suddenly Aston Martin popped up, and then suddenly McLaren popped up. But I think that's really down to the fact that they all understood what Red Bull Racing did in terms of design philosophy is the right one, with this new downforce element with everybody in following. We actually have a big upgrade coming for Singapore, which will follow the same philosophy, so everybody's closing in on that, and I think next year will be extremely close. Asked whether the philosophy change will mirror that of the Red Bull's RB19, Bayer confirmed that will be the case. While critics of Red Bull are often loathing to recognize the fact that current rules prevent sharing of resources, intellectual property, and even ideas, AlphaTauri's autonomy as a team has resulted in them slipping backwards in the sport at a time where the parent company is otherwise dominating the sport. Far from exploiting potential grey areas and regulations, AlphaTauri haven't even used all the permitted components that are available to them, with Bayer confirming there will be greater collaboration between Red Bull and his team going forward. With the cost cap and the technical regulations, you almost can't be like a sister or brother team. You have to be a Formula 1 team, he said. We need to go through that process of growing up, going through adolescence and starting to walk on our own feet. Obviously, not in contradiction with getting support from our family, and I think that's really where we're also supposed to achieve. That's what we want to achieve. We can still exploit the technical collaboration because we haven't done that in the past. It is well known by now that if you think about the importance of the suspension nowadays, and that we're not using the suspension which we are allowed to use, it simply is a mistake. There's a lot of gains to be made in the suspension of the AlphaTauri team, because that is one of the key points where Red Bull's design engineer, I've just gone blank on his name, has spent the majority of his time, Adrian Newey, he spent the majority of his time in the suspension department, not in the air department. So it's very interesting to see that you can make a lot of gains in your suspension department, and rarely AlphaTauri should be taking those components, which they're legally allowed to do as a sister team. So very, very interesting going into the Singapore Grand Prix. Will we see the AlphaTauris making major gains? Let us know what you think in the comment section. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reese. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, Bitdefender. Bitdefender is a global leader in cyber security. Bitdefender is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with Bitdefender, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on Bitdefender, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, Bitdefender, for joining the channel. I've been Reese here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. Moving on though from that article about the upgrades coming for AlphaTauri, we'll move on to another article about Red Bull. Red Bull's driver dilemma coming to head as Formula 1 star is set for a major career blow. Red Bull have 3 drivers on the books with strong arguments to race for AlphaTauri. Currently in contention they have Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda, or Liam Lawson. So you don't have to be a genius to know that 3 into 2 does not go, so Red Bull will have to inflict a potentially fatal blow on the career of one of its 3 drivers in the running for an AlphaTauri race seat next year. And the truth is that, right now, they could go for any of the 3 combinations available. A few weeks ago, the most likely outcome was the status quo. Yuki Tsunoda's consistent start to the season and notable improvement in his racecraft seemed to have been enough to earn another year, and Daniel Ricciardo was back on the grid, energized and ready to make the most of his second chance in Formula 1. And then he crashed in practice at Zandvoort and broke his hand, of course, having him out of that seat now, possibly until Qatar. The Aussie has missed 2 races so far and will most likely be sidelined for a couple more, and during that time, Liam Lawson has had the chance to prove that he is ready for Formula 1. The New Zealander has gotten off to a very good start on that quest. While he hasn't scored a point yet in either 2 of his outings so far, he has though done really well in comparison to his teammate. The likelihood though is it is the performance of his car which has limited his results rather than the way he has driven it. Lawson has made his Formula 1 debut in a hectic Dutch Grand Prix, starting on dry tyres amid an immediate rain shower and then navigating the tricky wet to dry crossover before more heavy rain changed the game again. He finished 13th and then followed that up with an 11th place at the end of his first full weekend at Monza, a much better showing for the rookie. As Sky's Anthony Davidson pointed out, it is difficult to assess exactly how well Lawson has done so far, as his teammate Yuki Tsunoda did not start the second race in Monza. And F1's driver yardstick is always their teammate. So he did finish the race though ahead of the Japanese driver at Zandvoort, and by finishing 11th at Monza was only 1 place off of Tsunoda's best finish in 2023. So far, no one at Red Bull has had a bad word to say about Lawson. And he has 2 more races at least to make even more of an impression for the Red Bull execs, given that Ricciardo is unlikely to be given the green light to return in either Singapore or Japan. One thing's for sure though is that Daniel Ricciardo will be back at the end or before the end of this season. His current expected return date is for next month's Qatar Grand Prix, and Red Bull is committed to giving him the chance that was promised. Furthermore, Red Bull wants Lawson to complete his season in the Japanese Super Formula Series, with the last race weekend scheduled for October 28th to 29th. He is still in title contention, and if he is successful, will become one of just two non-Japanese champions in the last decade. The other being his fellow New Zealander, Nick Cassidy. The way he has driven both in Super Formula and in his short-notice Formula 1 appearances this year has thrust Lawson into real contention for a 2024 seat. The question, though, Red Bull must be answering is, have his performances been good enough to uproot either Tsunoda or Daniel Ricciardo on a permanent basis? And if they decide that answer is yes, then which one of these two drivers are getting the axe? Keeping Tsunoda fits more with AlphaTauri's philosophy of developing young drivers, but Ricciardo's experience may prove invaluable to the team, which is in the midst of a significant transition. All of them will feel hard done by if they become the one whose Formula 1 career is placed under serious threat. So a very, very interesting topic there, asking who is going to be that driver kicked out of contention for the AlphaTauri seat for possibly next season. Very, very interesting there. Who do you think is going to be in the running for that seat there? I'm going to end this poll here and ask you your opinions of who is going to take that second, or who is going to be the combination in that AlphaTauri seat for 2023. Who will be the driver? So my question for you is, who will be the driver ousted from AlphaTauri? So let's start with Tsunoda, Ricciardo, and our third option will be, let me spot Ricciardo's name right though. Our third option, of course, will be Lawson. James there, just saying, wonder how Perez feels about Helmut Marko's comments. There hasn't been a public statement from Perez yet, has there? No, as far as I can see online, there hasn't been any public statements made by Sergio Perez or his team. So very, very interesting that they have kind of kept quiet on it. I understand why. Of course, it's one of their main team bosses that has said something about them. I think they're kind of just waiting until Perez can leave the team. I think they're kind of over it at this point. Yeah, I think it's very unfortunate that the end of Sergio Perez's contract with Red Bull is kind of ending in bittersweet terms. As Mark there says, Perez is too busy trying to find form, let alone a response. Well, I think Sergio Perez has proven that he has still got that form off the back of his Grand Prix weekend in Imola. He did quite well there, and I think he deserves maybe a renewal of that contract. But we'll have to wait and see what they do next year. Moving on, though, from that Red Bull article here, talking about AlphaTauri drivers, we'll move on to Formula 1 setting targets for their 2026 regulations. And some of the rules have been released now with their regulations for 2026. Formula 1 targets a 50 kilogram weight reduction as part of their 2026 rules revamp. Formula 1's 2026 rules are on course to produce shorter, narrower, and lighter cars, with the FIA targeting a 50 kilogram weight reduction by 2026. Motorsports Racing's governing body is currently hard at work putting in place to outline chassis regulations for the next rules era that will kick off in 2026. As well as a planned shift towards active aero to help reduce drag on the straights, the FIA has offered some more details about what else could be changing in the next regulation changes. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Autosports Italian language sister site motorsport.com.it, the FIA's head of single seaters, Nicholas Tombasas, has said that the main shift will be in the size of the car. Thank you. With the dimensions of the wheels, which will be narrower, plus the rear wing and the car in general, we aim to reduce the weight of the cars by around 50 kilograms, he said. So it will be possible to see smaller single-seater cars, shorter and narrower, but we are talking about solutions that still need to be discussed. With the car on a diet, we will also be able to change cornering speeds a bit. Being lighter, they will go faster in straight lines, but will generate less aerodynamic load. so we will need to increase the hybrid's energy recovery to ensure adequate lap performance. The changes planned for 2026 will not have been without controversy, as Red Bull earlier this year warned of the potential for Frankenstein cars that would be impossible to race each other. There were even concerns about drivers needing to change down gear halfway down straights to try and boost their energy hybrid systems. Some buses is clear though, however, that the FIA has put a lot of effort into ensuring that what is coming for 2026 works from the racing perspective. A lot of work has been done to understand how energy recovery and management will have been done and how overtaking can be done based on the aerodynamic configuration, he said. We have carried out many simulations by changing these parameters and have found solutions that seem to work adequately. Some buses suggest, though, that some of the original concerns voiced about the performance of the 2026 cars were not based on up-to-date simulation models. If one took the 2026 power units and mounted them on current cars, probably the result would be the scenario put forward by those who were worried, he said. But in recent months, we have collected a series of very positive developments, so the comments expressed old positions. We also need to take into account that the engine and chassis will have to work together, and it will not be possible to think of one without the other. So very interesting to see there what is possibly coming for Formula 1 in 2026. Certainly something myself and Mark have been really calling for smaller cars, more raceable cars, cars that can actually get side by side to each other in smaller circuits and street circuits. Hopefully with these reduced footprints of these Formula 1 cars, we'll actually get exciting Monaco Grand Prix. This is what we want to see. We want to see cars moving towards the regulations and sizes of old, from the 90s, from the 80s. Those cars were much smaller in footprint to the cars that we have nowadays. I understand that the cars have to be huge to get the ground effects working, but I mean, we're in 2023 already. We should be able to figure it out with active aerodynamics, which is what they're wanting to bring in for 2026. And I think it's really going to help a lot more in terms of the raceability of the cars, as well as just the spectacle of Formula 1 as a whole. So really looking forward to that. Moving on though to another article about AlphaTauri. AlphaTauri are closer to becoming Hugo Boss Formula 1 team. Hugo Boss are said to be the next sponsor of Red Bull's B team Scuderia AlphaTauri, as the iconic German fashion brand extends its investments into Formula 1 with the goal of turning it into a winning outfit. Hugo Boss's CEO Daniel Grieder told Reuters last year, Formula 1 is also back better than ever. It's a global sport and they also have commitments to a more sustainable world and races. I think the sport is even more relevant than ever, and the whole world is watching and so many fans are into it, and I think it's also exciting at the moment. I think the balance that they have found now is perfect, said Grieder, of the Formula 1's Netflix Drive to Survive inspired boom in the United States. At the time, a company spokesperson added, Hugo Boss is realigning its existing commitments in sports, and we will concentrate only on Formula 1 in the future. Since then, the speculation has been rife regarding the future involvement of Hugo Boss branding in Formula 1. The company has a rich history with McLaren, their multiple championship-winning cars featuring the Boss logo, driven by the world champions Alain Prost, Niki Lauda, Ayrton Senna, Mika Hakkinen, and Lewis Hamilton. The McLaren-Hugo Boss partnership dated back to 1981 and ran to 2015, before the clothing manufacturer switched to Mercedes. Since 2022, Hugo Boss are part of Aston Martin's partner portfolio until 2025. But talk in the paddock much of the season is that the plan is to take over AlphaTauri and rebrand the Faenza operation to Hugo Boss Racing Team, or Scuderia Hugo Boss, or whatever they name the operation, starting in 2026. Hence, this is the last year of Red Bull's AlphaTauri project, which began in 2020. Before the team was Toro Rosso, Red Bull in Italian, having morphed the program from F1 Minnows Minardi. It became the hotbed for Red Bull Racing's young driver talent development program. The likes of Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen, among several drivers in Red Bull and Formula 1, have made their way through the junior team. Unlike in the earlier days, and its reason to be the team is no longer a Formula 1 driver development platform, as Pierre Gasly was given huge refuge in the team after his Red Bull promotion failed. and remained there for 6 seasons. Eventually, Gasly departed, whereby they put in Nick de Vries, not from within their driver development pipeline, but also failed and was sent packing after 10 races. Yuki Tsunoda is on form in the other car for 3 seasons now, and is theoretically next in line to be promoted to Max Verstappen's teammate. Yeah, interesting though to see that there is the possibility of Hugo Boss coming to sponsor that second Red Bull team. I mean, it's been a massive talking point for the past few races, and I think we will have them coming into the sport, which is why we're seeing that promotion of all of these new CEOs and new team bosses in that AlphaTauri team at the moment. And I think that's why they're realigning themselves for 2024 to try and appeal more to the likes of Hugo Boss. I see we have Hayden there in the comment section there saying Helmut Marko forgets if it wasn't for Perez, Max wouldn't have won his first championship. I completely agree. And yeah, I agree that Sergio Perez does need to be appreciated more in that team, and certainly by Helmut Marko. Moving on though to another article here saying hidden mechanisms and concealed parts. What is triggering Formula One's Flexi-wing clampdown? The potential for hidden one-way mechanisms and movable parts concealed by rubber components have emerged as key driving forces behind the FIA's latest Formula One Flexi-wing clampdown. From this weekend's Singapore Grand Prix, the FIA has got tougher on the design of front and rear wings in a bid to stop teams from playing games with flexible parts. As first revealed by Motorsport.com, the FIA has demanded to see all designs and drawings of wings ahead of the Marina Bay race to check that they comply, and has outlawed specific race wing ideas that it believes contravenes the rules. This includes wing elements that move or rotate in relation to the bodywork. They are fixed to use elastomeric or rubber fillets that can help permit localized deflection, plus designs that use soft trailing edges to aid flexing. The FIA has long forced a battle to stay on top of the team's flexi-wing antics, but its single-seater director Nicholas Tombazis has revealed how it was pushed to respond after discovering the lengths some teams were going to get around the rules. In an exclusive interview with Motorsport.com's Italian site, Tombazis has explained that the thinking behind the new tough stance over flexi-wings. In the regulations, we have many flexible criteria. There are loads that we apply, and a certain deflection is allowed, he said. There are static tests that we do to check, and it is obvious that these tests are never perfect, because the direction of the test load you apply is always a bit different from the load that it has out on track, when it experiences genuine aerodynamic force. There may be differences for this reason in the regulation. There are some general and conceptual specifications that, in essence, prohibit mechanisms. For example, one could draw a wing that, when applying the forces of the FIA test, it is fixed, but when applying any other load, it could be more flexible. For this reason, we have been clarifying for years that mechanisms are not legal, and we have written several clarifications on what we consider a mechanism. Tombazis then suggested that a line has had to be drawn because of clever mechanisms that teams could use to get around the rules, which has included the use of designs hidden beneath rubber coverings. If under a carbon surface we have levers that allow deflection in one direction and not in another, we can consider this a mechanism, he said. Another thing we have said in the past that is not acceptable when a component has relative motion against an adjacent element, sliding in a different direction from it. What happened recently, some teams have components adjacent to each other that have a fairly high movement but do not slide in tandem. Because these areas are covered with rubber material, we do not consider this acceptable, and for this reason we have made a clarification. Tombazis suggests that the teams have been exploring this point with both individual front wing elements and the attachments to with the nose. Furthermore, it has been inspecting the flexibility of lower wing components to the crash structure. The flexibility of upper wing elements has been policed thanks to the introduction of reference dots from the 2021 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. He added, we have observed some rotations, and we have analysed them with the teams because we conduct some examinations. At the track, we will open up their components to see what's underneath, or we will look at their drawings in CAD to better understand how their various elements work. Asked if this was done in collaborations with teams, Massa said, it's not that they want to, but they have to. Lately, we have seen drawings in which things were exaggerated. The trend was evident, so then we had intervened with a more severe clarification. So the FIA always going to try and get rid of ways that teams are going around the rules in 2022 and 2023 and going forward, because they want to allow teams to race more closely. We don't want teams finding little loopholes in the rules that allow them to make gains and just run away. Hopefully this is maybe finding where the Red Bulls are maybe finding a lot of pace this year, and maybe these clarifications are just going to rein them in a little bit more. We'll have to wait and see though what does happen in the Singapore Grand Prix. So just a little bit of stats going into the Singapore Grand Prix this race weekend. It is going to be the 16th round, if I'm not mistaken, of the Formula One Championship this year. It is a street circuit and has been held on the Formula One Grand Prix Canada since 2008. There's going to be 62 laps, and the circuit is a new circuit layout this year with only 19 corners. It used to be 21, but they have removed a section in the midsection with a new DRS detection zone being moved much further up. The track was built ahead of the 2008 Grand Prix here, and of course the circuit, one of the most physically demanding on the Canada, has a very bumpy street surface coupled with high humid conditions, giving the drivers plenty to think about throughout a lap. Even with a revised 2023 layout reducing the number of corners from 23 to 19, they are working with the wheel a lot. Around a high lap speed, the physical stress causing them to lose as much as 3 kilograms in body weight over the course of a race. So certainly one of the most grueling and enduring races that a Formula One driver must endure throughout a Formula One Grand Prix throughout this calendar year. So just talking a little bit about this revised circuit, I have spoken about it in another live news show, but just to go over it yet again, the redevelopment works in the vicinity of the track means that the section between turn 16 and 19 of the 2022 layout will now become one long 397.9 meters straight, reducing the total number of corners from 23 to 19. The changes, which are subject to the FIA approval, and will also require the removal of the bay grandstand while the redevelopment is carried out, are expected to see the circuit length reduced from 5.063 kilometers to 4.928 kilometers, with the number of laps in the Grand Prix likely increased from 61 to 63. Really looking forward to this race weekend. I always look forward to the Singapore Grand Prix. It's also very exciting for us as a channel because it marks our 1 year point from when we started doing watch-alongs with all of you guys. So really looking forward to it. Hope that all of you will join alongside with us for this Grand Prix race weekend. Mark there just saying to Singapore, crashes galore and potential red flags. Certainly, we always have a very exciting Singapore Grand Prix with lots of flags. Lots of crazy weather. It's often during monsoon season here in Singapore, so who knows what it's going to be like this race weekend, but we're certainly really looking forward to it. Thank you very much though for joining alongside with us for this Formula One live news show. Yeah, please do be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let us know where you're tuning in from and who you support for this season. Thank you very much for watching me. I have been Reese. Cheers. Ex-Ferrari team manager slams Formula One teams over Max Verstappen. Red Bull are just 8 victories away from going the entire 2023 Formula One season unbeaten. Ex-Ferrari and Williams team manager Peter Windsor believes all the teams should hang their heads in shame amidst Red Bull's ongoing dominance. After 14 races in the 2023 season, Red Bull remain unbeaten, ahead of the upcoming Singapore Grand Prix, with Max Verstappen alone having won 12 races this season. 10 of those have come consecutively, something which saw him eclipse Sebastian Vettel's record for 9 wins in a row recently at the Italian Grand Prix. Ferrari's attempt at battling Red Bull at Monza was arguably the best attempt any team has made this season so far. There are genuine beliefs that Red Bull could go the entire season unbeaten though, something which has never been achieved in the history of the sport. Red Bull are just simply in a complete league of their own, thanks to being deadly consistent at all circuits. Windsor raises the point that if it wasn't for Red Bull, there'd be questions as to why no team can perform consistently since the introduction of the new aerodynamic regulations. Red Bull are the only team who can always get their car into the right window, making Windsor question whether the other teams have taken the wrong approach to the current regulations. If that isn't the case, then Windsor wonders if some teams have hired the wrong people. The way the regulations have been drawn up for these cars, the way 9 of the 10 teams have approached it, we're now in 2023. They've had 3 years of working with this thing, and they still can't get the cars to work properly and consistently over a season, Windsor said during a YouTube stream. If it wasn't for Red Bull, you'd have to be saying, there's something wrong here. All these incredible Formula 1 teams, with their sophisticated technology, cannot get this thing to work on a consistent basis. But Red Bull are showing that it is possible, and therefore all the other teams have got the wrong approach. Either the wrong approach to hiring the people they're using to do the analysis and to design the cars, or they're unable to put what could very well be a very good aerodynamic package into practical use because there are so many new variables that have risen because of the budget gap, because of the limitation on CFD design, and because of all the other stuff that comes with that, including the sprint race format. Given off all those constraints, Red Bull have shown that it is possible to still do a great racing car consistently, from one race to the other. So long as Red Bull are showing that, everybody else needs to hang their head in shame, I think. Very, very interesting to see that Peter Windsor does believe that the other teams have just dropped the ball in terms of the new regulations. I'd love to know what all of your ideas and comments are on that. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reese. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, Bitdefender. Bitdefender is a global leader in cyber security. Bitdefender is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with Bitdefender, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on Bitdefender, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, Bitdefender, for joining the channel. I've been Reese here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports, here for another daily live news video. Yeah, once again, a lot of news to talk about. I'm sure everyone will be quite interested from the title of the video here today. Yuki Tsunoda faces a Red Bull style Yuki Tsunoda faces Red Bull style demotion threat as Daniel Ricciardo and Liam Lawson make AlphaTauri Dream Team for 2024. It was the much-awaited restart of the Formula 1 season in Zandvoort when Daniel Ricciardo fractured his hand during FP1. In the 2 races he had driven before his injury, Ricciardo showed just how good he can be when in a positive environment. The AlphaTauri team was lucky enough to have Liam Lawson, though, travelling with them, giving way for a surprise Formula 1 debut for the New Zealander-born driver. Considering the circumstances around his debut, Lawson had a positive start to his career. With impressive performances, Red Bull is more than happy with the oceanic neighbours, ringing the sound of distress for Yuki Tsunoda. When Tsunoda had Nick de Vries as his partner, he had much less to worry about, given de Vries' subpar performances. However, with Ricciardo's addition, the AlphaTauri camp dynamics changed quickly, with neck-to-neck competition between the new teammates. Now the Japanese driver faces another challenge in Lawson, who is equaling him in every step, despite being less experienced. AlphaTauri has had 4 drivers this season, which is more than the points they currently have in the Drivers' Championship. Despite Tsunoda being the only driver to bring in points in the team, Lawson and Ricciardo's short stints have had a heavy impact on the team. With the recent results even giving room for rumours of the duo being the preferred driver lineup for AlphaTauri in 2024. Should this be the case, Tsunoda will move to Red Bull Racing as their reserve driver, and will have the testing and sim duties on his shoulders, making it an Alex Albon situation for him. With Ricciardo a part of their team, AlphaTauri will have some much needed experience in their driver lineup, which will also help Lawson learn the ropes in his first few years with the team. The dynamic would mean AlphaTauri will have the best of both worlds as they continue to improve as a team. In 2019, Red Bull announced the signing of Alex Albon to replace Pierre Gasly as Max Verstappen's counterpart. However, after failing to keep up with the Dutchman, Albon had to become the team's reserve driver, with Sergio Perez taking up his seat in 2021. The following year, after George Russell vacated the Williams seat, Red Bull fought hard for Albon to replace him, and now the Thai driver is having one of the best seasons of his career. With Tsunoda potentially becoming Red Bull's reserve driver, the example of Alex Albon could provide him with the hope of a continued career in Formula 1. However, a case can be made for whether or not the Japanese driver would want to be in that situation. For now though, all he can do is perform to the best of his abilities and hope for the best. Certainly would be sad to see Yuki Tsunoda act from that AlphaTauri team, but if there are drivers performing at a better level, then you'd have to understand why he is getting taken out of that AlphaTauri seat. We'll have to wait and see though what happens in 2024, but very, very interesting to see what does happen. I do have a poll there running at the moment in the comment section asking who do you see in the AlphaTauri seats next year. Your options are Tsunoda Ricciardo as option 1, Lawson Ricciardo as option 2, Lawson Tsunoda as option 3, which currently has no votes, and then other for option 4. Please do be sure to go and vote in that poll, as well as to join us and commenting in the comment section. Let me know where you're watching alongside from, and let me know any questions that you may have for me here today. I'd love to answer any of those for you guys in the comment section. Moving on though to our next article, speaking a little bit about Daniel Ricciardo and his return to Formula 1 in the Singapore Grand Prix. AlphaTauri confirms Ricciardo won't race Singapore Formula 1 round, but will be present. Daniel Ricciardo will attend Formula 1's Singapore Grand Prix, but will only work with AlphaTauri in an engineering capacity, as he continues his recovery from a broken hand. Ricciardo has been absent from his stunted Formula 1 comeback since the early stages of the Dutch Grand Prix 3 weeks ago, where he broke a metacarpal in his left hand in a crash at the Hugenholtz corner in second practice. He underwent surgery on his injury 2 days later, as he was replaced for the event in Zandvoort by Red Bull Junior driver and 2023 Super Formula title contender Liam Lawson. Lawson has continued to deputise in Ricciardo's place a week later at the Italian Grand Prix, as well as this weekend yet again in Singapore. The scene of Ricciardo's most recent Formula 1 victory back in 2021, when racing for McLaren, which was of course in Monza, where Red Bull team boss Christian Horner suggested Ricciardo may miss 4 races in total and may only return at the Qatar round in early October due to the time needed in his recovery process. Ahead of this week's Singapore Grand Prix race though, AlphaTauri's official pre-event media preview confirmed that Ricciardo will be present with the team in Singapore, only for engineering purposes though. The team gave no mention of Ricciardo's plans for the Japanese Grand Prix next week though. In the same press release, Lawson, who finished 11th last time out at his Monza outing, having pushed teammate Yuki Tsunoda close in qualifying too, said he definitely felt more comfortable in Monza than in Zandvoort, even if there's still a lot to learn. He added, "When you get more comfortable in these kind of cars, it can make quite a big difference. Having done 2 races now, I'm also getting a better understanding of the difference between the tyre compounds, which is so important. I'd say Monza was pretty successful, even if it was disappointing to finish so close to the points. I think if I had a better start, perhaps things could have been a bit different, but it is something that I will learn from, and I'm just excited moving forward. I know this is a very tough race physically, and when you get thrown into Formula 1 in this situation, even with all the training in the world, it's still such a tough adjustment. It's going to be very difficult, but we've had a lot of training for it and doing everything we can to prepare for it. Last year, I experienced the nighttime routine as Red Bull's reserve driver. It's cool, to be honest, to go through a weekend like that. It's a bit different to normal. Obviously, the biggest adjustments will be getting used to the track, as I've only driven it on the sim, and street circuits are probably the hardest to replicate. They take confidence, and when you're new to the track, or even in my situation being new to Formula 1, having that confidence early in the weekend is pretty tricky. I'll be aiming to build up as many laps as we can, a bit like Monza, to be honest. That was the target there, and it will be a similar sort of thing this weekend. Generally, I like street circuits. For example, I absolutely love Monaco, so I'm expecting to enjoy Singapore too. Well, glad that we'll have Daniel Ricciardo back in Formula 1 and back in the Formula 1 paddock this race weekend in Singapore, and certainly looking forward to seeing what Liam Lawson can do this race weekend. I think, as he says he quite enjoys street circuits, we'll be waiting and watching to see whether he'll be able to have a good race weekend out here in Singapore. It's a very difficult track, but if anyone can do it, I think the rookie of Liam Lawson should be. Moving on though to another Red Bull based article, how Red Bull can win the Constructors Championship in Singapore this race weekend. Just jumping to the comment section quickly, I see Mark is there saying hello. Thank you very much for saying hi there, Mark. I see we do have a couple people though in the comment section. Do be sure to just let me know where you're watching from and say hi. Moving on though with this article, Red Bull's dominant Formula 1 season could see it clinch its first title of the year in Singapore this weekend. For the first time this season, Red Bull can walk away from a race weekend with the Constructors' Championship clinched. The Singapore Grand Prix hosts the 15th round of the current campaign, with the Marina Bay circuit offering a unique challenge to the drivers. Red Bull is currently enjoying a dominant campaign, with having won 14 races so far. 12 of those victories have gone the way of Max Verstappen, who is currently streaking towards his third Formula 1 title. Verstappen's highly impressive campaign has seen the Dutchman claim the last 10 race victories, setting a new record for the most consecutive wins in Formula 1 history. However, he is yet to triumph in Singapore. Red Bull also holds the record for the most wins by a team in a row, with its Monza victory increasing its tally to 15, stretching back to last year's season finale at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Currently, Red Bull holds a sizable lead over Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship, with the German manufacturer a mammoth 310 points behind them. After the Singapore Grand Prix, there will be 353 points left on the Constructors' table across the remaining races of the season. It means that Red Bull must outscore Mercedes by 43 points to secure its first back-to-back titles since 2012 to 2013. The only way to do this is for Verstappen and Sergio Perez to finish a 1-2 to earn 44 points, with Mercedes not scoring a single point. Alternatively, should a Mercedes finish in 10th place and take 1 point, Red Bull would also need the fastest lap bonus point, in addition to a 1-2 to wrap up its 6th Constructors' crown. So highly unlikely that could happen this race weekend, but it is still a possible statistic for the Singapore Grand Prix that Red Bull could take their second back-to-back championship. We'll see what happens though. Moving on though to Toto Wolff. Wolff has claimed Hamilton lost the 2021 championship over a targeted Formula 1 rule change. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has claimed that Lewis Hamilton lost the Drivers' Championship in the 2021 season due to an F1 regulation change which targeted the silver arrows. After a standout 2022 season or 2020 season where the silver arrows dominated the competition, Lewis Hamilton finished 124 points ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas, on 347 points to equal Michael Schumacher's record for the most world championships. Speaking to Sky Sports, Wolff claimed Formula 1 altered the regulations in order to help their opponents close the gap. 2020 had been a super dominant year for us, said the Austrian CEO. I think it was the best car we've ever had. Then, towards the end of the season, they changed the regulations by cutting the floor, and that was to stop us. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reese. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, Bitdefender. Bitdefender is a global leader in cybersecurity. Bitdefender is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with Bitdefender, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on Bitdefender, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, Bitdefender, for joining the channel. I've been Reese here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. While the ever-controversial 2021 finale at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix remains a big reason why Mercedes lost the Drivers' Championship, Wolff believes a broader Formula 1 regulation change were made in order to stop them. "We lost the 2021 Drivers' Championship for many reasons," he said. "One was the final race, but we also lost it because those regulations were set in place in order to reduce the advantage we had had." Mercedes faced fierce competition from Red Bull throughout the 2021 season, and Wolff believes that regulatory changes played a crucial role in resetting the competitive landscape. "We saw the results in 2021. We were not as competitive as Red Bull was," he said. "But at Silverstone, we unlocked more potential of the car and got ourselves back in the championship." These regulations were targeted to reset the pecking order. Currently, with a lot of talk being around different championships of the past, there's a lot of people calling for Schumacher to lose his first championship. Of course, there's Massa trying to get back his 2008 championship. People always calling for Lewis Hamilton to try and get back his 2021 championship. Just a lot going on at the moment, and I don't know if we necessarily should ever go back and change the results of former championships and titles, because I think it's in the past. Sure, there may have been controversy, but that is what the sport is all about. We want to remember what happened in the past and maybe learn from it rather than having to go back and change it. We'll still have to wait and see, though, what does happen with that 2008 scandal and championship with Massa and Hamilton. Mark just saying there, why can't Wolff just keep quiet? Man just cried at the moment. As well as saying, lol, imagine Red Bull somehow do win this weekend. Would be down to all the others messing up badly. Yes, it would be down to others messing up badly. I also have a little bit of news about the weather this race weekend. That could also be coming into play. Moving on, though, to another article. Formula 1 news. Sebastian Vettel teases a Japanese Grand Prix return. Red Bull and Sebastian Vettel have planned something special. Always with special. I always say special. Red Bull and Sebastian Vettel have planned something special for Suzuka. Reports are that four-time champion or four-time Formula 1 championship winner Sebastian Vettel could be returning to the Formula 1 paddock this year at his favourite Suzuka Grand Prix circuit for the Japanese Grand Prix. Vettel took part last weekend at the Red Bull Nürburgring event, where he drove around the legendary Nordschleife circuit in his Red Bull RB7. The retired driver relived his Formula 1 days during the event as his Formula 1 car roared through the green hell after 10 long years. After the event, he revealed that the motive to participate in it was to inspire people to have fun in a more responsible way. His initiative, called Race Without Trace, aims to raise awareness of the benefits of sustainable fuels. Suzuka is a circuit that Vettel has a soft corner for, and he seems to have mastered it well as he had won his second title there in 2011. Not only that, but during his run with Red Bull, Vettel won all 4 races in Suzuka from 2009 to 2012. After announcing his retirement last year, Vettel revealed that if he was given the chance to race in Suzuka again, he would seriously consider the opportunity as a once-off comeback to Formula 1. From the looks of it, Red Bull seems to have paid attention to his words, as the 36-year-old is all set to be with the team in Suzuka. Although he was racing for Aston Martin the last season of his career in Formula 1, from a recent tweet with Red Bull Racing Daily on X, it looks like the Milton Keynes-based outfit and Vettel have an event planned at Suzuka. Fans could expect some high-speed drama at the event, with Vettel most probably racing around the circuit in his RB7 Formula 1 car. But the nature of the event still remains a mystery. On the Red Bull Racing Daily Twitter or X page, they had a tweet that said Sebastian Vettel and Formula 1 are planning something for the Japanese Grand Prix. He has also revealed that he is also a little nervous about the planned special event in Japan. The news broke out after Vettel revealed to a reporter from Sports Show that there would be a special event in Japan that he was a little nervous about. However, the details of the event have been kept a secret, maybe to surprise the fans. I'm not sure if his presence at Suzuka would be solely for the promotion of his initiative, and is Vettel planning a Formula 1 comeback anytime soon? Only time will tell. I'd love to get Sebastian Vettel back in Formula 1 in the future. He is only 36 years old. He's younger than Lewis Hamilton. He's younger than, of course, Fernando Alonso. I'd love to see him back in the sport. It would be a great addition I'd love to see him maybe in Audi having Mick Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel. Could you imagine? That would be a phenomenal driver lineup. Moving on though to our final 4 articles now of the day, McLaren have revealed a special stealth mode car livery for the Singapore and Japanese races. McLaren will use a new livery design at the upcoming back-to-back Grand Prix weekends in Singapore and Japan, as the team continue to celebrate their 60th birthday year on and off the track. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri will contest 2 races with what has been described as a stealth mode scheme, switching McLaren's usual colorway and augmenting black against the car's classic papaya trim. The livery has been co-designed by McLaren and OKX, a Web3 technology company and official partner of the working squad, representing how both brands strive for excellence while embracing change and innovation. Alongside the livery, a limited edition t-shirt will be made available throughout the McLaren store, and a limited giveaway for attendees of the Token 2049, the Web3 conference taking place in Singapore prior to the race. OKX will also be hosting a McLaren-themed fan zone in Singapore from Thursday, September 14th to Sunday, September 17th, featuring a stealth mode show car, racing simulators, giveaways, and special guests over the weekend. Very exciting. I always enjoy seeing different stealth and different liveries on these cars this year. I've really enjoyed the different liveries that McLaren have done. I think this is their 4th of the year. There was the triple crown livery that they revealed close to the year. There's been their normal livery, there's been the chrome livery, and now this livery. So yes, that is the 4th livery for McLaren this year. Very exciting. Glad to see that they are changing things up a little bit and just making things a little bit more exciting for the fans this year. I think their car could be quite fast with this edition because, they're taking off a lot of paint, so their cars are ever so slightly lighter, and we'll have to wait and see whether they're going to be quite competitive in Singapore this race weekend. I'm certainly hoping they are going to be. Marksbox saying there in the comment section, only if that McLaren livery didn't have the Google wheels. I agree. Also saying there, Vettel coming back at his favourite track. Very exciting for Sebastian Vettel, of course. Moving on though to our weather prediction for this Grand Prix race weekend, 2023 Formula 1 Singapore Grand Prix weather forecast. After a dry weekend at Monza last time out, will rain return for the round at Singapore? This weekend, the Marina Bay Circuit plays host to the Singapore Grand Prix, the 15th round of the current Formula 1 campaign. After the first completely dry weekend for some time, the last time out at Monza, rain could return for the Singapore event and add a further challenge for the drivers. Singapore has a tropical climate which makes it hot and humid all year round. The daily maximum temperature is between 30 and 34 degrees Celsius, and at night it rarely gets colder than 25 degrees Celsius. Daily showers are common, and there's sometimes the threat of thunderstorms in the area. According to our friends at weareonline.com, Friday practice is expected to be dry. The chance of showers, though, is small. resting at around 20%, and the temperature will rise to around 33 degrees Celsius at the hottest time of the day. However, over the weekend, the threat of rain will increase. On Saturday, the day of qualifying, there will be a 40% chance of a shower at the track. On Sunday, more showers will develop in the region, and the chance of rainfall is over 60%. However, most of the showers will fall in the afternoon. As both qualifying and the races do not start until the evening hours, it does not appear as though the track will be heavily saturated for those sessions. On both Saturday and Sunday, temperatures will rise to 32 or 33 degrees Celsius. Once the race commences, the sun would have already set, but the temperature will not cease much. At the start of the Grand Prix, which is scheduled for 8 PM local time, it is expected to be 29 or 30 degrees Celsius. Yes, hopefully the weather does not affect the Grand Prix all that much this race weekend, although saying that, I think rain could make the race quite exciting on Sunday. We do have 60% chance of rain, but it is expected to fall more likely during the day rather than during the night when the race is taking part. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and yeah, hopefully we do get some exciting weather making its way over the track, because I think that it could just make some really, really exciting action out on track for all of us, viewers and commentators alike. So moving on though to the FIA, the FIA has revealed plans for more aggressive Formula 1 wheel cover solutions for their next spray tests. The FIA says its next planned test with spray guards on a Formula 1 car will feature a much more aggressive solution that completely covers the wheels. A first trial of an idea in Silverstone in July did not yield the results hoped for, with the wheel fairings used only reducing the spray thrown up by a small amount. Formula 1 chiefs know that a much bigger step is required if they are to limit spray enough to help cars race more in rainy conditions. The FIA's single-seater director, Nicholas Tombazis, has explained that following analysis of what happened at Silverstone, the next test will be with a much different design. What was done at Silverstone, with the help of Mercedes, who created parts, and McLaren, who ran a car to get feedback on spray, was perhaps too optimistic an experiment, Tombazis revealed. The spray guards covered a little bit too little of the wheel. I was quite skeptical and imagined that we wouldn't see important results, he added. In the next tests we carry out, we will test complete coverage of the wheel, going even beyond what would be needed to understand what the threshold is at which the spray forms. Then we will decide which path to take. Tombazis has explained just how complicated finding a solution is, with the excessive spray thrown up by Formula 1 cars being triggered by different factors. The first is from the water that is extracted from the tyres and shot upwards, he said. A second effect derives from the accumulation of water beneath the wheel and the asphalt in the tyre squirt area, which is between the wheel and floor edge, which is sucked up into the diffuser. The third effect is given by the water that stagnates in the cracks and in the ground and under pressure of the diffuser is sucked up and expelled. He added, "We believe that the spray coming from the wheels corresponds to approximately 40% of the total. If we were able to limit this phenomenon, it is clear that the drivers would not have complete visibility, but there would be a significant improvement." Tombazis had said the FIA has been looking at tools used by road car industry to simulate wet weather conditions when it comes to ensuring safety. "We have done some simulations, and they are tools that are often used in the production car industry, for example checking visibility for rear view mirrors, but these tools must be calibrated well to have a good correlation. The car manufacturers carry out very extensive calibration, as they do not have testing restrictions and do not have to deal with an FIA, which imposes constraints. They can act freely. We do not have the possibility to carry out frequent tests, so with limited activities, it is not easy to find the right calibrations. The deterioration can vary greatly, he said. In some configurations we tried, it was almost zero, while in the most extreme solutions we tested in the tunnel, we saw a loss of up to 80 points, which can be worth 2 or 3 seconds in lap time. But honestly, we don't really care about the performance threshold, although the teams are definitely watching it. In the Silverstone test, the solution tested had the lowest possible aerodynamic impact. Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali suggested recently that that one other idea being looked at to reduce the spray was in relation to limiting the amount of water thrown up by the diffuser. Some cover could be possible, but Tombazis has ruled out interfering with specific design aspects in the tyre squirt area. It will take a lot of work from the teams, he said. Ideally, we would like to intervene with a solution that is put on and taken off only when there is a wet monsoon, which is perhaps once or twice a year. We prefer not to have to touch the machines. Other ideas may possibly be developed for the 2026 regulations. So very interesting to see there what is happening in terms of the teams developing these, or the FIA developing these solutions for the spray that is thrown up by the cars in really wet weather conditions. Hopefully they're able to come up with a solution that does help reduce the spray from the cars, because it does really limit the amount of racing that we can do in certain track conditions when it is too wet out there. Moving on though to our final article for you guys here today. Sergio Perez admits he needs to be very strong mentally to survive at Red Bull. Sergio Perez has admitted that any driver who is a Red Bull teammate to Max Verstappen cannot hope to survive without possessing great mental strength. After Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon struggled to contend with the performance level of Verstappen, Perez was next to give it a shot, as Red Bull brought him in ahead of the 2021 campaign. But even Perez, the highly regarded Formula One veteran, has had his lows alongside Verstappen. Arguably, the lowest of lows coming in this Formula One 2023 season, as his targeted title challenge fell apart as his performance fell off a cliff. The Mexican racer has begun to steady the ship in recent rounds, making the podium 3 times over the past 4 races, having withstood a torrent of speculation over his Red Bull future. The team repeatedly affirming that their commitment to Perez until the end of 2024 at least, and have been asked by Autosport what it is like to be a Red Bull driver in that seat next to Max Verstappen. Perez replied, "It is tough, but if you want to drive for Red Bull, you have to live with it and be very strong mentally to survive it. We all have to appreciate what Max is doing, the level at which he is driving at the moment. It is extremely high. To give 100% every weekend, no matter what the conditions are. When you're his teammate, it is hard to digest." But while the results have picked up for Perez, there is still an alarming performance gap, which has opened up between he and Verstappen. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff called it a bizarre moment when Perez qualified 1.3 seconds slower than Verstappen at the Dutch Grand Prix, while last time out at Monza, Verstappen was almost 4 tenths faster than his teammate, come to end of qualifying, while on race day, Perez fought back against the Ferraris to score a Red Bull 1-2 podium. Verstappen claimed victory for a record-breaking 10th Grand Prix victory in a row, and as for where Verstappen is finding so much time over Perez in the same car, Perez suggested mainly in the fast corners, but there is no clear pattern. Then put him that Verstappen has no issues with oversteer, but he does. Perez replied, "Let's put it in this way. When the car tends to oversteer, the distance between us increases. The other way around, I'm much closer." Verstappen is now marching towards his 3rd World Championship in as many seasons, with his lead over Perez standing at 145 points, meaning P2 is now the best that Perez realistically can do. Still, that would satisfy Red Bull. The team has yet to experience a 1-2 finish in the driver's standings. Perez has not thrown in the towel just yet against Verstappen though, confirming that with 8 rounds of the season still to go, he is targeting adding a couple more wins to his current tally of 2. To find the form I had at the start of the season and a few more races, said Perez, of his goal for the remainder of the season. To find the form I had at the start of the season and win a few more races, said Perez of his goal for the remainder of the season. Red Bull can potentially secure the 2023 Constructors Championship title already in Singapore if the results go their way. So, certainly very, very interesting to see the challenges that Sergio Perez currently has in that Red Bull seat alongside Max Verstappen. I can only imagine how difficult it must be to have to deal with a teammate like Max Verstappen, who is extremely consistent week in and week out. It's not easy for the likes of Sergio Perez coming in as that second driver in the team, but he has done really, really well nonetheless with the amount of pressure that is on him in that seat. That will be it though from me here today for Formula One news. Thank you very much for watching alongside with us. I see we do have Ashke Diman there saying FIA are trying to make the cars slower again. Yes, I have spoken about that at length. Do be sure to go and check my YouTube shorts. There's a lot of other YouTube clips that I've done speaking about the new FIA technical directive that is being brought in from this weekend onwards. Do be sure to go and check that out on our YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel as well, do be sure to go and hit that subscribe button. And yes, we hope to see you in the next video. Of course, we do have the Formula One Grand Prix, the Singapore Grand Prix, starting again next weekend, which is very exciting. Or not next weekend, tomorrow afternoon, which I'm very excited for. And I hope to see all of you alongside with us for that Grand Prix. Thank you very much, though, for watching this video with me. I have been Reese here for Forever Motorsports. Cheers. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports for the review of the Singapore Grand Prix free practice 1. And what a session that was there, Mark. Yeah, very interesting to talk you through our top 10. Charles Leclerc tops the timing boards in free practice 1 in Singapore with Carlos Sainz in P2, Verstappen P3, Norris P4, Hamilton P5, George Russell in 6th, 7th is Perez, Alonso in 8th, Tsunoda in 9th, and Ocon finishing up the top 10 there.
Yes, and then carrying on 11th is Stroll, 12th Gasly, 13th Albon, 14th Bottas, 15th Magnussen, 16th Lawson, 17th Hulkenberg, 18th Zhou, 19th Piastri, and 20th Logan Sargent. So that was the total drivers and all their positions for FP1. Of course, it is just a practice session, nothing to take too hard too much, but great to see that everybody's running very close to each other. A little bit of concern for Oscar Piastri's car there. Obviously, wasn't able to get as quick as he should have been compared to his teammate who's up in 4th. The Williams aren't as quick as I was hoping they'd be. The AlphaTauri also, with their massive upgrade package, don't seem to be that quick compared to what we might have been hoping from them. But good to see the Ferraris up in 1st and 2nd, and good to see the Mercedes also quite consistent in 5th and 6th.
Yes, it is great to see those Mercedes getting a little bit more consistency here, as you say, in 5th and 6th. But I think the biggest takeaway is the fact that those Ferraris are looking quite competitive here today, which is good.
Yeah, and it's exactly that. And I think we're going to hopefully see that continue throughout the weekend. Maybe Ferrari found a little bit of form in Singapore. Maybe this track suits their car a little bit more. But of course, don't ever count out Max Verstappen and Red Bull. I'm sure we'll see them come back very strong. Can any of them stop Max Verstappen winning an 11th in a row? Reese, from what you've seen in this first practice, would you say anybody could?
Well, I think the Ferraris are looking quite competitive. I think they could possibly take it to the Red Bulls. I certainly hope so. We'll have to wait and see, though.
Okay, so just looking at the rest of this list here, Hamilton in 5th, beating his teammate George Russell in 6th. I mean, are we surprised by this, or is this to be expected?
Sorry, who was that, Mark?
Hamilton beating out his teammate Russell.
Well, I think that's to be expected. I think that George Russell hasn't had the upper hand over his teammate this year. I think it certainly has been Lewis Hamilton's car this year. It's been supporting him. It's been suiting him a lot better than George Russell, that's for sure.
Yeah, and just looking at the rest of the grid, of course, the practice 1 session was a little bit interrupted by local resident Godzilla, who made his way out to the track a couple of times during the session, causing a few yellow flags. Carlos Sainz making note the second time it made its way out to the track. A few years ago, Max Verstappen also made note of the water monitor, who made his way onto the track as well. So clearly, as Reese tried to say, maybe perhaps it's his son living on the legend here in Singapore. So great to have a little visitor there. We've had groundhogs in other places. We have cats in some tracks. And here in Singapore, we've got water monitors, aptly named. And we're naming him on Forever Motorsports, at least Godzilla. So hopefully Godzilla won't get hit by any cars in practice too. But I think it's certainly going to have to be something that might get in the way of qualifying maybe even tomorrow. And that could cause a little bit of an issue for some of the drivers on their fast lap attempts.
Yes, hopefully we don't get those interruptions again. It's still possible throughout the rest of this weekend, but let's hope that those Godzillas don't interrupt running yet again this Grand Prix weekend. Yeah, very interesting free practice 1 session. Do be sure to let us know who you're supporting for the rest of this weekend down in the comments section. Thank you very much, though, Mark, for joining me in the session. We will join you again a little bit later for the FP2 session. We're going to go live now with our build-up package. Thank you very much for joining us, though, here on Forever Motorsports. I've been Reese, joined with Mark. Cheers. The FIA will be bringing a new technical directive to the Singapore Grand Prix. The new technical directive is not entirely new. A similar technical directive was also in force in 2021 until the end of 2022. In 2023, though, the technical directive, which was more or less a solution to a temporary problem, was included in the set regulations. Since this year, the flexibility allowed is more precisely defined in the regulations. But now it is necessary to reintroduce the technical directive to close down on loopholes that teams have found throughout the year, especially through certain interpretations of the text in the rules. as Formula 1 teams always do. Goss has said, but over the season, we felt that there has been a little bit too much creep in the design details of aerodynamic concepts and components. The FIA has been paying explicit attention to 4 main issues. The first indicates movement. Up, down, front, rear, left, and right of the wings relative to component that it is connected to. The second is more or less the same, but says that the wings are also not allowed to rotate relative to other components. Thirdly, elastic components are also not allowed. Materials that can move under certain pressure and then easily bend back to their original shape. Finally though, components with a soft and bendable edge on the back are also prohibited. This material could prevent cracking due to deflection. So a lot of loopholes closed now in the regulations by the FIA, just trying to crack down on any little loopholes that teams are able to find and where they're able to just eke out any little bit of performance. Maybe this is Red Bull, maybe this is some of the other teams. We don't necessarily know who this is aimed at, or maybe this is just general loopholes being changed by the FIA, things that they've maybe done research and found that they're just closing it down to make sure that there is fairer racing going forward into the future. And hopefully this does maybe cause a bit of an upset in the Singapore Grand Prix and we see other teams being a little bit closer to each other. Maybe Red Bull falls back a little bit due to these regulations coming in. We will have to wait and see. Let us know what you think in the comment section. Mercedes trackside engineer Andrew Chauvelin expects the team's form will improve at the upcoming Singapore Grand Prix. The team have not scored a podium since the British Grand Prix, with both Lewis Hamilton and George Russell receiving penalties at the most recent race in Monza. Although they had the pace to challenge for a podium at the high downforce Zandvoort circuit, the team made a gamble to stay out during the opening lap downpour, which severely compromised their race. Chauvelin expects a repeat of this form for the upcoming race around the Marina Bay circuit. There is a reason to think that the car will work better, and that is because Singapore is a maximum downforce circuit, he explained. Our performance at the high downforce tracks, like at Barcelona, Budapest, and even Zandvoort, the car was working well, and we've had pretty strong performance. We're hoping to be able to be a bit quicker here, and get back to a position where we can challenge for podiums. I'm certainly hoping that Mercedes can be very dominant and have a good race weekend in Singapore because, I mean, they've had great pace this year, but have unfortunately had some bad luck in certain races like in Zandvoort where they just got the wrong strategy calls. Hopefully they're just able to get it right in Singapore because we've seen you can really gamble on early pit stop calls, you can make big undercuts here. It's also forecast that there's possibly rain this weekend, so that could also come into play yet again. I mean, it is monsoon season normally around this time of the year in Singapore, so it's really an unknown. I'm sure a lot of people will be quite excited to hear that there's rain yet again. We'll see whether Mercedes can live up to expectations for this next race weekend. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reese. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, Bitdefender. Bitdefender is a global leader in cyber security. Bitdefender is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with Bitdefender, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on Bitdefender, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, Bitdefender, for joining the channel. I've been Reese here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. Verstappen's win streak could be under threat in Singapore. Max Verstappen's bid for a record-extending 11th straight win faces a severe test in Sunday's perilous Singapore Grand Prix night race on the unpredictable Marina Bay circuit. The Red Bull driver's third world title in a row is only a matter of time, but the Dutchman has never triumphed under the lights in Singapore, where tropical storms, intense humidity, and concrete barriers all wait. Safety cars and red flags will almost certainly play a part too, with memories of an incredibly messy race in Singapore a year ago fresh in Verstappen's mind. Rain is again forecast for this race weekend ahead of us. Verstappen was only 8th on the grid in 2022 after being underfueled in Saturday qualifying, and a pre-race deluge saw him start poorly on the sodden track. dropping back 5 places. He clawed his way through the field with the help of several safety car and virtual safety car periods though, only to slither onto an escape road while trying to take 4th place, eventually rejoining, settling for 7th. Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez kept his cool out in front to win ahead of Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari and keep the champagne on ice for a bit longer. "It's better than 8th, but it's not what I'm here for," he said. "Not with a car like that. It was just incredibly messy," Verstappen ended. Verstappen leads Perez by 145 points this year in the current championship, and could clinch the world title with 6 races to spare at next week's Japanese Grand Prix. Mercedes are second in the Constructors' Championship, a distant 310 points behind the Red Bulls, with team boss Toto Wolff believing that Red Bull are on course to win all 22 races this season. "I think they need to screw it up themselves," Wolff said after Verstappen's 10th win in a row at Monza a fortnight ago. "If they complete the clean sweep, Red Bull would eclipse the world record of Mercedes in 2016, when Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton won 19 of 21 races. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner warned though that the unique Marina Bay Challenge could upset their perfect season. "It's a street circuit. It's one of the toughest on the calendar. We saw last year how perilous it can be," said Horner. "We'll just do our best to keep this momentum running. One day we're going to get beaten. It's just a question of when, and we've just got to make the win as far away as we can." Wolff believes though that Mercedes may have their best chance to upset the Red Bull run on a track where straight line speed is not so crucial, but grid position is everything because of the difficulty in overtaking. "Singapore is back to high downforce and coming towards our direction a little bit more," he said. "It will be important for us to maximize that opportunity when it comes." Well, we'll have to wait and see whether the likes of Mercedes can possibly get on that top step here in Singapore. Helmut Marko has finally come out and apologized for his offensive remarks about Sergio Perez. The Red Bull consultant Helmut Marko has apologized for blaming Mexican driver Sergio Perez's fluctuation in form on his cultural heritage. The 80-year-old Austrian, who is an advisor to the dominant Formula 1 team, issued a formal statement on Friday. "I would like to apologize for my offensive remark and want to make it absolutely clear that I do not believe that we can generalize about the people from any country, any race, and any ethnicity," Marko said. "I was trying to make a point that Sergio Perez has fluctuated in his performance this year, but it was wrong to attribute this to his cultural heritage," Marko added. Marko, a former racer and close friend of the late Red Bull owner Dietrich Mateschitz, had made his remarks on the energy drinks company's television station following last weekend's Italian Grand Prix at Monza, wrongly describing Sergio Perez as South American. "We know that he has problems in qualifying, he has fluctuations in form. He is South American and he is just not as completely focused in his head as Max Verstappen is or Sebastian Vettel." These are the comments that landed him in that hot water, and yeah, it is not the first time that Marko has referred to Perez as being from South America. The Mexican, though, comes from Guadalajara, which is geographically in North America. An earlier attempt by Marko to clarify his comments only dug him in deeper. Yeah, certainly not going too well for the Austrian of Helmut Marko there, with the Austrian news website OE24 reporting Marko as saying it wasn't meant that way. "I meant that a Mexican has a different mentality than a German or a Dutchman, but who knows, maybe it is controlled." And as I said, that landed him in even hotter water. While Marko attends races in Red Bull Racing uniform, he reports to the energy drink company and is not an employee of the British-based Formula 1 champions, who had no immediate comment. Nevertheless, Marko's ill-advised comments have sparked an online backlash among fans and made headlines in Mexico. "This cannot keep happening to Sergio Perez," declared motorsport website The Race on Friday. "He deserves better than to have to grin and bear derogatory comments from a senior figure in Red Bull's Formula 1 organization. The way Helmut Marko talks about him needs to stop." The Red Bull Racing daily feed on social media site X commented in a statement to its 35,000 followers, "Such comments will not be tolerated. A racial stereotype was used to criticize his performance, which is absolutely disgraceful and inexcusable," it said. Glad that Helmut Marko has finally come out and apologized for his derogatory comments against Sergio Perez. Felipe Massa's legal team hopes for support from Hamilton in 2008 Formula 1 title case. Felipe Massa's legal representation hope that the 2008 Formula 1 world champion Lewis Hamilton will support his former Brazilian rival in his case to overturn the outcome of that year's title. Massa believes Formula 1 and the governing body were aware of the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix Crashgate scandal in time to take action before the championship was decided. Former Ferrari and Williams racer Massa says he is developing a subsequent legal case to gain justice for the sport, rather than recoup the tens of millions of euros that his team believes he has missed out on after losing that year's championship by 1 point to McLaren driver Hamilton. Bernardo Viana, that represents Massa in Brazil, hopes that Hamilton will support the case that would theoretically lead to him losing the first of his 7 drivers' championship crowns. Viana said, "He is an important ambassador for the sport and has always been defending sporting integrity. We have absolutely nothing against Hamilton. Aside from Hamilton, it is known that Ferrari, for which Massa drove in 2008, will not join forces for the case." In the same interview, Viana also revealed that Massa's legal team have pushed back the deadline for Formula 1 and the FIA to respond to a letter before claim until mid-October. Previously, the letter, which outlined that the Formula 1 summer break and personnel being on holiday was not sufficient a reason for the Formula 1 management and FIA delays in replying, stated a deadline to respond of last Friday, the 8th of September, ahead of potentially launching a formal challenge in the British High Court. Speaking to Motorsport.com last week, Viana said, "So we are waiting for their response. If their response is adequate, and if they approach us for any conversation, that is okay. If their response is not adequate, we're just going to move forward with the legal strategy that we have in place." Really interesting that they want to get Lewis Hamilton involved. I highly doubt that he will ever get involved in this case, because of course it means that he would lose his 2008 World Championship. Yeah. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reese. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, Bitdefender. Bitdefender is a global leader in cyber security. Bitdefender is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with Bitdefender, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on Bitdefender, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, Bitdefender, for joining the channel. I've been Reese here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. Mercedes trackside engineer Andrew Shovlin expects the team's form will improve at the upcoming Singapore Grand Prix. The team have not scored a podium since the British Grand Prix, with both Lewis Hamilton and George Russell receiving penalties at the most recent race in Monza. Although they had the pace to challenge for a podium at the high downforce Zandvoort circuit, the team made a gamble to stay out during the opening lap downpour, which severely compromised their race. Shovlin expects a repeat of this form for the upcoming race around the Marina Bay circuit. There is a reason to think that the car will work better, and that is because Singapore is a maximum downforce circuit, he explained. Our performance at the high downforce tracks, like at Barcelona, Budapest, and even Zandvoort, the car was working well, and we've had pretty strong performance. We're hoping to be able to be a bit quicker here, and get back to a position where we can challenge for podiums. I'm certainly hoping that Mercedes can be very dominant and have a good race weekend in Singapore, because, I mean, they've had great pace this year, but have unfortunately had some bad luck in certain races, like in Zandvoort, where they just got the wrong strategy calls. Hopefully they're just able to get it right in Singapore, because we've seen you can really gamble on early pit stop calls. You can make big undercuts here. It's also forecast that there's possibly rain this weekend, so that could also come into play yet again. I mean, it is monsoon season normally around this time of the year in Singapore, so it's really an unknown. I'm sure a lot of people will be quite excited to hear that there's rain yet again. We'll see whether Mercedes can live up to expectations for this next race weekend. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reese. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, Bitdefender. Bitdefender is a global leader in cyber security. Bitdefender is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with Bitdefender, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on Bitdefender, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, Bitdefender, for joining the channel. I've been Reese here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports for the review of the Singapore Grand Prix Free Practice 2 session. And what a session that was, with a lot of standouts and a lot of surprises, that is for sure. The biggest surprise, of course, being the fact that Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez in those Red Bulls are not even in the top 5. So, to talk you through our top 10 first, Carlos Sainz took pole position with a 132.1. He was closely followed by his teammate Charles Leclerc with a 132.138. George Russell then came in third with Fernando Alonso P4, Hamilton P5, Lando Norris in 6th. 7th and 8th were the two Red Bull drivers of Perez and Verstappen. Surely not having a great day out there, maybe just struggling with grip on their car. We saw a lot of sliding from the rear end of that Red Bull. Certainly not looking like the Red Bull of old. Possibly just being upset by those new technical directives being brought into Singapore this race weekend. Then moving past those Red Bulls, we have Magnussen in P9, Bottas in P10. Then to go through our bottom 10 to make up the top 20. Hulkenberg then was P11. Liam Lawson having a great day out there in P12 ahead of his teammate. Esteban Ocon is in P13. Lance Stroll P14. Piastri P15, quite far off of his teammate who is all the way up in P6 in that system McLaren. Then 16th is Yuki Tsunoda. Obviously, as I said, quite far off of the rookie Liam Lawson. Could be putting quite a lot of pressure now on that rookie of Yuki Tsunoda, or not on the rookie, but on Yuki Tsunoda's shoulders, who is being outperformed by the rookie of Liam Lawson. Zhou Guanyu, the Alfa Romeo driver who has just announced a contract extension to the end of 2024 with Alfa Romeo, he is down in P17. Pierre Gasly then, P18, Logan Sargent, P19, and Alex Albon all the way at the bottom in P20 due to a power unit issue which hindered him from getting any running in for the entirety of that session. I think he may have gotten in 1 lap, but that is about it. Actually, no, it says here he got in 5 laps. With the driver finishing the most laps being Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda having done 27 laps, also tied there with Charles Leclerc having also done 27 laps in that session. A lot of differing runs. There was, of course, qualifying runs which gave us our order here, as well as there was a lot of race simulation runs being put out on the drivers or on the timing boards here today. Lots of representative times being put in, of course, for qualifying tomorrow evening. The track temperature and conditions were very, very indicative for tomorrow evening in qualifying. And this could be a major upset to have those Ferraris all the way at the top of the timing boards, possibly for qualifying tomorrow afternoon. Let us know what you guys think in those comment sections down below, what you think of the upset from those Ferraris, and whether you think those Red Bulls are possibly being hindered by the new technical directives that have been brought in. It certainly looks like those Red Bulls are on the back foot. I mean, what is with them? We haven't seen the Red Bulls being this far down in a free practice session this entire season. I don't think we've seen them this far down for maybe 2 or 3 seasons. It's very weird to see them maybe on the back foot here this weekend. A lot of sliding from the rear end of those Red Bulls in Perez and Verstappen's cockpit. So both drivers really not happy with their cars this race weekend. A few outliers there. Russell P3, as we said, with Hamilton down in P5. I think those Mercedes could also be quite challenging for the rest of this race weekend. I certainly hope to see them challenging for pole positions, for race wins, or possibly some other podium positions. Fernando Alonso in that Aston Martin also looking quite rapid out there on track. His lap times are quite close to the likes of George Russell and Charles Leclerc's. all within 0.3 seconds. So we could get a very, very close qualifying session tomorrow afternoon. I'm certainly looking forward to it. I'm sure all of you are also looking forward to it. Do be sure to join us for free practice 3 tomorrow at 11:30, as well as qualifying at 3 p.m. South African time. Looking forward to seeing all of you guys in the comment sections again and in our next stream. Do be sure to subscribe to the channel and let us know who you are supporting for all of these sessions and race weekends. I've been Reese here on Forever Motorsports. Just want to say a quick thank you to our channel partners Bitdefender and BoyleSports. Bitdefender being a global leader in cybersecurity, making sure that you guys are all safe from cyber attacks, as well as BoyleSports, which is our leading betting partner here on this channel. Do be sure to go and check out BoyleSports if you want to put your money where your mouth is. BoyleSports will match your first bet up to 1,000 rand, so do be sure to go and check that down in the description of this video. Thank you very much for joining. I've been Reese here on Forever Motorsports. Cheers.
Welcome to the Singapore Grand Prix, home of the Formula 1 night race. Formula 1 leaves Europe behind and starts its final sequence of flyaway races to see out the 2023 season. Starting here in Singapore with one of the most challenging circuits on the calendar. The circuit, set out around Singapore's Marina Bay, is 4.94 kilometers and is made up of 19 corners, which is a reduction of 23 turns from last year's layout due to construction taking place, meaning that the old turns 16, 17, 18 and 19 were taken out and replaced with a straight. This circuit is particularly grueling on the drivers due to the high humidity and ambient temperatures seen around the circuit. During a race around Singapore, drivers can lose up to 3 kilograms in sweat from the heat experienced in the cockpit of their Formula 1 cars. Not only do drivers have the extreme heat to deal with or the possibilities of monsoon rain, but the circuit around Singapore is set at night and became the first night race on the Formula 1 calendar in 2008. This makes racing around the Marina Bay even more difficult, as it is said that the circuit is similar to Monaco with very close walls and little room for error. Watch now as you get taken around a lap of Singapore. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula 1 content. Welcome and be to the Singapore Grand Prix, home of the Formula 1 night race. Formula 1 leaves Europe behind and starts its final sequence of flyaway races to see out the 2023 season. Starting here in Singapore with one of the most challenging circuits on the calendar. The circuit, set out around Singapore's Marina Bay, is 4.94 kilometers and is made up of 19 corners, which is a reduction of 23 turns from last year's layout due to construction taking place, meaning that the old turns 16, 17, 18 and 19 were taken out and replaced with a straight. This circuit is particularly grueling on the drivers due to the high humidity and ambient temperatures seen around the circuit. During a race around Singapore, drivers can lose up to 3 kilograms in sweat from the heat experienced in the cockpit of their Formula 1 cars. Not only do drivers have the extreme heat to deal with, or the possibilities of monsoon rain, but the circuit around Singapore is set at night, and became the first night race on the Formula 1 calendar in 2008. This makes racing around the Marina Bay even more difficult, as it is said that the circuit is similar to Monaco, with very close walls and little room for error. Watch now as you get taken around a lap of Singapore. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula 1 content. And be sure to let us know in the comment section who you are supporting for the Singapore Grand Prix.
Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports here. We are live for free practice 3. And of course I'm joined by Reese, who's alongside me. Both of us wearing white today. Don't think that was an intended thing, but nonetheless we are both of us here and waiting for the Singapore Grand Prix free practice 3, the last practice to get going here in just 12 minutes and 47 seconds left here. So be sure to like the video, guys, subscribe to the channel, welcome to the stream, let us know where you're watching from, and ask us some questions, and otherwise let us know who do you think is going to top free practice 3, and also what do you think your predictions are for qualifying later today. Reese, what are we looking forward to after yesterday's practice sessions?
Well, I think certainly those Ferraris are looking at like the form of the field right now. The Red Bulls looking like they're possibly on the back foot right now as well. I mean, off the back of FP2 yesterday, I did not expect to have Max Verstappen down in P8, Sergio Perez P7, with Carlos Sainz P1, Charles Leclerc P2, and then I think it was George Russell P3, Fernando Alonso P4. I mean, what a difference. Top 5 that we had yesterday. Certainly not what we expected at all coming here into Singapore, and certainly a bit more welcome.
No, exactly that. So Red Bull need to find some pace. I'm sure they will. I'm sure that they'll get their cars right up to the back there, especially by qualifying. But at the moment, didn't do particularly well yesterday, being outshone by those other competitors. And I think also great to see yesterday was Alonso finishing up in 4th in that Aston Martin. So clearly the Aston Martin has got enough pace to compete with the rest. And I'm hoping to see a really, really good race from Fernando Alonso.
Well, I think this weekend could be Fernando Alonso's time to shine. He's had a great couple of races this year, and this one looks like he could be able to compete for a race win. I mean, he did very well in FP2, that's on your qualifying and possibly race pace. So we'll have to wait and see for Sunday. Of course, we don't necessarily know. I didn't follow all too much yesterday, the Red Bull's race pace, unfortunately. But
I don't think you can discount the Red Bulls in a race. But
No.
it's going to be very difficult to pass around here.
Again, I think his point is even saying discount them as if like it's an outside chance. Red Bull will be quickest. We know this. This is a fact. It's whether or not the other teams can be.
I don't know about that right now. With
So
the new
Max
technical-
Verstappen is coming from 10 race wins in a row. You're not so sure that he's going to be quick enough.
Well, with these new technical directives, I think they've possibly lost some pace here this weekend. So I think we'll have to wait and see who's the right one.
Well, we'll see. I don't think Red Bull will be all to the bad later on in qualifying. Of course, Red Bull have been by far and away the strongest team the entire season. I'm sure we'll see that continue on for the remainder of the season as well. But let's see how close everybody else can get. So watching Charles Leclerc make his way to his pit and the rest of the drivers as well, as we are just about 10 minutes away from the start of FP3.
Yes, not long now to go till the start of the session. I think the session is going to be quite interesting as well. They might be doing some more race sims. Of course, it's a bit useless to try to do some quali sims in the absolute heat that you get around in Singapore. I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous around here. But we'll have to wait and see what does happen in qualifying later this evening. I think that the Ferraris are going to be quite competitive. Aston Martin, as we saw off the back of FP2, look quite competitive as well. The Mercedes, I don't think you can discount at all this race weekend. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Do be sure to vote in our poll that we do have running there who will top this FP3 session, as well as if your option is not there in that poll, let us know in the comments section. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, indeed, exactly that. And I also think we need to talk about Oscar Piastri and his performances compared to Lando Norris this weekend so far, because I think Oscar Piastri, we've been talking up the entire season in terms of being a fantastic rookie, and he is a fantastic rookie. He's going to do some amazing things, I'm sure, in his career. But this weekend seems to be struggling in comparison to his teammate Norris.
Well, this weekend, yes, as you say, I think it may be due to the fact that it's a new circuit for him. I don't know if he's ever raced around here before. I might be wrong, but I think maybe he's just been trying to get to grips with the circuit a little bit more. I hope he does pick up the pace a bit, because he has a car under him that could get him near the top of the timing boards in qualifying later this afternoon. So I certainly hope he can pick up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. And guys, be sure to go and check out our Discord channel as well. It's linked there in the chat, so be sure to go and join that Discord group, and let's go and ask questions there as well. And yeah, we will be having a membership program coming up very soon. I think Reese just needs to get that just the explanation of what's happening with the memberships up, and then we guys can go and look at that as well. But otherwise, just go and hit that subscribe button, and please like the video right now. Again, let us know where you guys are watching from. We've got more than 40 of you watching. Let's try and build that up to 100 as quickly as possible. And we've of course got the timing boards all ready and waiting for practice 3.
Yes, getting quite close now to the start of free practice 3. Just 7 minutes and 55 seconds left to go. Lewis Hamilton's car, looks like there's quite a lot of work going on. It's still before the start of the session. He might have a bit of a delayed start there with the car still up on jacks. I say that, but they're starting to remove those jacks away now. So it looks like their car may be ready for the session, even though I said it might not be. Yeah, they're removing all the jacks now, going to put on that front wing, and then they'll be ready to go.
Yeah, just looking here, the sunny weather is there in Singapore. It's going to be quite hot today, I reckon, although everybody seems to be in longs, which is quite interesting. But of course, these are presenters. They're going to have to be in longs. Most of them, though, most of the crowd even seems to be wearing longs. Clearly not as hot as it normally is in Singapore, but I think for the drivers, though, it'll be humid. It'll be very warm with those engines right behind them, of course. And yeah, I think it's going to be quite a tough and grueling practice session for them as well, again.
Yes, I think it's going to be very difficult for all the drivers today. It's going to be quite hot. I mean, yesterday was extremely hot in those conditions that we had. I think at 9 o'clock at night, it was still 28 degrees Celsius. So extremely hot and extremely humid. We saw videos coming out from all the Formula One teams after their free practice sessions yesterday. All the drivers jumping into ice baths to cool themselves down after those practice sessions. Max Verstappen has a new haircut for this race weekend, as does Lando Norris and George Russell, just because I think it's so hot around here, you don't want to have very long hair.
No, not at all. And it's not that fancy of a haircut when we go and allude to them, but as V says, they just cut their hair down a little bit just to try and minimize that heat that they might feel in their heads, at least during the race and during their time in the car. Also, just looking around here, I was noticing a stat that was just pulled up there, is Red Bull have got, out of four, I think it was something 14 14 times they've been here. Red Bull have finished in the top 3 more than any other team in Singapore. So
But
this
Max
is definitely
Verstappen has never won around here. So
I didn't say top 3.
yes, but as I said, Max Verstappen has never won around here. He's had some bad outings in here. I'm reminded of 2017, where he had that crash with Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen into turn 1 at the start, where he got sandwiched in between the two. Last year, unfortunately, he had the issues in qualifying, which put him on the back foot at the start of the race. If you don't remember that, at the end of qualifying, they told him to abort his lap, brought him in, put him out again, and then didn't have enough fuel in the car. So, yeah, he started quite far back on the grid for that race. And then had a bit of a clash or a lock-up into, I think it was turn 6, and that was his race done. So hopefully he can have a better year this year, but the Red Bulls are not looking to be the form of the field here this weekend. That's certainly looking to be this car that's being shown right now with that driver, Carlos Sainz and Ferrari.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see whether or not Red Bull have just going to change things around overnight, and we'll see that change in FP3 now, I'm sure. And, Ferrari, they had been very quick this weekend, and Carlos Sainz leading the way there yesterday, of course, in FP2. So, very keen to see what he can do this weekend. Maybe they can keep going from Monza and improve upon their results.
Well, they certainly look to be quite fast here this race weekend, so they could be able to do it all. I mean, if Ferrari bounced back off of a terrible start to the season, sure, it's a bit late, but it could still bring us some exciting action towards the end of this season. We've still got Suzuka coming up next weekend, then we've got the break, then it's... Oh gosh, don't ask me what the calendar is. What's after that, Mark?
I have no idea.
I can't remember. It's been so hectic, I'll have to pull up my calendar in front of me.
Tell you what, we're both of us going to search very quickly for what the schedule is, and we'll get there. So we've got Singapore, then the Japanese Grand Prix, then Qatar,
That's the one.
then the United States Circuit de Americas, then Mexican Grand Prix, of which I'm sure Helmut Marko will not make his way to, then Las Vegas, then Brazil after Mexico, then Las Vegas, and Abu Dhabi obviously finishing up the season. F1 23, back in the comments, great to have you here saying, who do you think will take pole? Well, do you mean pole in qualifying or do you mean pole in practice 3? So practice 3, who do you think?
Well, pole is always for qualifying, topping the timing board
let's
would be
go here.
FP3. So for FP3, I think possibly the Ferraris could be back at the top again. I'm going to say Carlos Sainz is going to edge it out over his teammate then for pole position later this evening.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the McLarens. I'm going to say Lando Norris.
Okay. Well, top speed here at the circuit has reached at 315 kilometers an hour. There are 19 turns now instead of the previous, I think, 21 turns. They've got rid of 2 of them.
4 of them, actually. Old turns 15, 16,
Yes.
17, and 18.
Oh, God. So
now
yes, it would have been
all turned into a long
23
straight.
turns, I think. So, and the selected tyre compounds for this race weekend is the soft at C5, medium at C4, and hard at C3.
Yes, that is currently the softest of the Pirelli range, which go from C5 to C0. Just watching here over a very, very foggy looking Singapore Bay. It's just so humid there. Currently 31 degrees Celsius. Track temperature is 39 degrees Celsius. A little bit cooler than yesterday. Yesterday started out at 42 degrees track temperature. So still going to be a very, very hot afternoon there in this Marina Bay. Absolutely beautiful setting for a Formula 1 circuit.
Indeed, exactly that. So one of the richest cities in the world. It's the richest sport in the world. So very apt, and of course we've got that very famous hotel overlooking the Marina Bay circuit there, full of people in the pool, of course, as they always are, and there's a big crowd building here in Singapore to watch free practice 3, which is more indicative of what's going to happen in qualifying later today, which of course we will be live for as well. F123 just saying, yes, Reese, I want Lando and pole as well.
Yes, I think that the McLarens may have some good pace here today. They looked like they had some good pace on their race runs, so they could be doing quite well here today in terms of their qualifying pace. Let's see what happens though throughout the rest of this session. I mean, you can't really, for all you say that this session is going to be indicative of qualifying later, I disagree with that. I think last night's session was the most indicative because of course, the temperatures. But this session, they're going to just be doing, I think, some race runs. It's going to be difficult to gather any data from this session because of the extreme temperatures of the daytime.
I do agree, but at the same time, though, we have seen during the entire season that generally in free practice 3, as much as we think, they're not going to really do qualifying times because, the temperature's quite different, it's not quite as indicative as free practice 2, we have always seen that qualifying sims do take place in practice 3 almost all the time. So I'm hoping we'll probably see similar sort of things this today.
The point I'm trying to prove, though, is the fact that this is during the daytime. FP2 was during the nighttime, which is what quali's going to be during. It's completely different. You can't really take much data. Sure, you can take some data, but I think they're going to be doing more setup changes today for the race. They're going to be trying to get comfortable for some long runs. That's what we might see here today. Lots of laps being put in by the majority of the drivers. We're already seeing Lewis Hamilton's car all prepped and ready to get going. He's going to go out on a set of hard tyres. They don't
have blankets on, so I think that's just how hot it is.
Yes, it's so hot you don't need blankets out here in Singapore. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to see many quali runs here. Maybe near the end when it starts to cool down a little bit more, as Taya is quite happy to see you back in the stream here today. Teka saying, do you guys think that Helmut Marko should be sacked for his comments? Well, unfortunately, Red Bull Formula 1 team cannot sack him. He's a boss, technically, of that team. So,
but
as much as we don't want him...
pressured into his resignation, I suppose.
Yes, as much as we don't want him in the Red Bull team, they can't really get rid of him.
No, indeed. And we do see an Alfa Romeo here making their way out as the Finn of Valtteri Bottas making his way to the end of the pit lane, getting ready to start free practice 3.
Yes, as the lights do now go out, he didn't have to wait for very long there, but it is looking very, very dusty around the street circuit, of course.
Soft tires.
Soft tires, as you say there, for Valtteri Bottas. Interesting to see. So he might try and do some quick race runs on those softs. It looks like Fernando Alonso is going out on a set of scrubbed tires. Yes, he is going out on a set of scrubbed mediums. He's going to want to maybe just check how the track is doing first, and then they'll go out maybe on a new set of tires. Currently just Bottas and Zhou out on track, though.
Yeah, indeed. Though Aston Martin seem to be prepping and getting ready to go out, as is Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez in that Red Bull pit as well. So 59 minutes, of course, is going to be remaining in this session. It's an hour long, and we'll get lots of simulations happening during that time.
Yes, lots of simulations are going to be coming your way. We'll be sure to keep you updated on all of that, as I'm going to take off that counter now and replace that with the timer for the rest of this session. Let's just get that going.
There we go. Just having to go fix that up. And there we go. We've got 58 minutes left of the session. I suppose we're going to change that to ends in. There we go. And we're good.
Yes, so just watching over on the Alfa Romeo pit box there, all of their engineers having a look over the data. Those cars still the only two running out on track right now. F123 saying Lando always does good on tracks with the same characteristics. Austria, Russia, Singapore, and then it's getting cut off there. Russia, Singapore, and then the Qatar track looks like it will really suit the McLaren as well. As well as we see Amelia coming back, one of our new regulars. Very glad to see
who's Amelia?
Amelia is one of our new regulars that started coming yesterday in pre-practice 1, who said that they subscribed to the channel.
Yes, that would make sense.
Yes.
Fortunately, I was there and thereabouts in practice 1, and unfortunately, power issues and otherwise, and work becoming a thing. But yes, Reese was there the whole time, so good to see everybody coming back. The more regulars, great to have you here. And again, guys, if you guys are joining us for the first time, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ask us some questions in the comments and let us know where you guys are tuning in from. We are streaming from sunny South Africa, and it's quite sunny at the moment. And let us know where you guys are watching from.
Yes, do be sure to let us know where you're watching in and tuning in from, as we see Sergio Perez now making his way down the pit lane. Yeah, very, very exciting to see what all of these drivers are going to be doing throughout the remainder of the session. It's going to be quite a busy session here today.
Yeah, I think it will be quite a busy session. And Bottas now obviously setting the first fast lap here on a set of softs. So potentially a qualifying simulation happening here in that Alfa Romeo as it comes around that dreaded turn 13, I think it is, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
That is the dreaded turn 13. That is a very, very tricky hairpin as you come out of that bridge sector. Valtteri Bottas putting in purple sectors at the moment, but he is the first one to put times on the lap board, as I'm sure Mark was about to say to me, as we have Pureblood now joining in, a whole bunch of our regulars starting to jump into the comments. Taya saying she hasn't heard you say her name yet, Mark.
Tia. There you go. Kevin also here in the comments saying, I'm a new sub too. You guys are cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Kevin. Very much appreciated. And tell your friends, get your friends to subscribe as well and get them to watch. Bottas now sets the first time of the day at 1:35.0. So already not too slow, actually, given the time of day and the fact that, it's the very first attempt around. So it's not too
Very interesting
too slow.
to hear here, Mark. I'm just looking at Twitter, hearing that there's been rain in the morning around the track, which means the track is green again. So all of the rubber that was put down yesterday in those 2 practice sessions has been washed away before this session. So it's going to be a tricky track once again. The drivers are going to have to find those limits again and put down rubber again before qualifying this evening. Just watching Liam Lawson getting ready to get into his Challenger car. I've been very interested in seeing what he's been doing this race weekend. He's been outperforming Yuki Tsunoda so far. Will he be able to keep up that pace into qualifying in the race tomorrow?
Well, I'm not quite sure yet. AlphaTauri, of course, bringing lots of upgrades. I think we're going to have to see what happens in this session. I think Tsunoda beat him in the first session, and then Lawson beat him in the second session. So we'll see whether or not either of them can obviously outperform the other this session now. But of course, more importantly, in qualifying later, as Perez now gears up to start his first hot lap of the day. So we currently got out on track Bottas, Zhou, Perez, Sainz, Stroll, Leclerc, and Verstappen. So both Red Bulls and both Ferraris out on track already.
Yes, not too busy out there on track, but now Verstappen, as you say, has also made his way out there. He's still on his outlap. But coming through the final sector now, Stroll has started a hot lap, as has Carlos Sainz, and Charles Leclerc is in the final corner as we speak, ramping up to start his hot lap. Yeah, let's see what these drivers can do as Sergio Perez steals away that first sector from
On medium
Valtteri
tyres.
Bottas. On medium tyres, though, but I also see on our timing board, Mark, Stroll has stolen that away.
Stroll has turned another way. So, look, these times are going to change as we go, of course. It's right at the beginning of this practice session. So it's going to fall as the track continuously evolves with more rubber being put onto the track. As we said, it's gone to a green track again because of a bit of rain this morning. So it's washed away that rubber that they put down. So we'll see these times drop continuously as we do see, of course, Stroll still going around, setting some more purple mini sectors. So I think he might set purple sector 2 as well. Going back to the comments here, Kevin asking, my question is on Haas, specifically their future, to be honest. Assuming a 1-year contract with Kevin Magnussen and Hulkenberg, what do you think they should do in their near future?
God, I don't know. I'm still reeling at Haas over the way that they treated Schumacher. So, yeah, I don't really care. No, I'm joking. I think they might just be looking at the young talents pool for the future. There's a lot of Ferrari young driver academy drivers who they may become a test bed for. Perez crosses the line and goes second with a 1:35.2 on that set of mediums behind Bottas. Verstappen's on a hot lap, Sainz and Leclerc on the hot lap. Where can Stroll put himself? He goes fastest now overall with the 1:35.0 on a set of mediums. Faster than Perez on a set of mediums.
It is interesting, yeah, that's exactly that. Now let's see what Sainz can do as he's coming around the final corner now, and he's going to come across the line. I think also setting a new fastest lap indeed at 1:35.015, so just beating Stroll.
Max Verstappen is finding a lot of pace out on track right now. Leclerc comes through that final corner. Where does he put himself? He goes only 5th fastest, not good enough
time
for him,
so far.
but Verstappen has now gone fastest with a 1:34.4.
Yes, indeed. So Verstappen, more what we expect to see from Red Bull, of course, quite a lot quicker than the Ferrari. 6.6 seconds quicker, 34.4, whereas Sainz was 35.0. So
Hamilton
a hell of a lot of time. Hell of a lot of time to be making up for the rest of the grid.
Yes, a lot of time to be making up for the rest of this afternoon. A lot of testing possibly still to be done for those Ferraris, maybe some setup changes. Zalish saying it's easy, Perez will win. He is the street circuit master. Please be sure to keep giving us all of your comments down there. Give us your predictions. Perez saying the rear is still on the edge. Feels a bit too pointy, the entries. So that car is still set up very pointy. That's the way that Max Verstappen likes it. And we can see that from the time that he's gone and put down on the board there.
Yeah, so Max Verstappen's surely getting the best out of the car right now. Perez struggling a little bit more than his teammate. George Russell seems to be prepping to get out of the pits right now. They're getting the tyre blankets off. And yeah, he is about to exit the pits and join this session as well. His teammate now starting his first hot lap. I think, is he? Yes, I think he is.
Who's this now?
Hamilton is starting his first hot lap.
He's just started an outlap.
So there you go. George Russell now following him out. So quite a few cars have still not made their way out onto the track. Both McLarens, Alonso, both Haas's, both Williams. they've yet to come out of the pits, and I think both AlphaTauris as well. So quite a slow start and a sluggish start for most of the grid.
Yes, as you can see here next to me, I'm going to point to it there. We do have our channel sponsors being shown here. Be sure to go and check the link in the description for our channel sponsors, Bitdefender, the global leader in cybersecurity, as well as BoyleSports, our betting partner, and BoyleSports will match your first bet up to R1,000. Yeah, do be sure to go and check those links in the description for our channel partners. Thank you very much to BoyleSports and Bitdefender for sponsoring our channel.
Yeah, just going back to the comments there saying, not a raccoon, saying still rooting for Leclerc, even though Red Bull has gone straight to the first, basically what he said earlier. So yeah, F123 also giving an answer to Kevin for his long question there for Haas, saying retire is my honest answer. So not a lot of people are big fans of Haas, and I think it's because they don't really provide much in terms of competition. Let's put it that way. I suppose we can say the same thing for Alfa Romeo, but they are changing. There's quite significant changes in that team, as well as AlphaTauri, which is becoming a Boss cars next year.
Well, we don't know yet. It might become Boss or Scuderia Boss or Boss Scuderia.
Either way,
we
it's
don't
going to be
know
Boss
yet.
cars.
Boss something.
But boss
if you're a bit confused, that's because Hugo Boss, now Boss, is looking at buying a majority stake in that AlphaTauri team.
Yeah, indeed. Valtteri Bottas just crossed the line. Sorry, moved himself back into second. At 134.98, still quite a bit off of Verstappen, and he's still on the soft tyres, Bottas. So, yeah, Alfa Romeo not looking particularly quick on their soft tyres. Just watching a replay here of Max Verstappen potentially getting held up, or at least starting just goes off into the runoff area, just seems to miss the turn.
That's very odd because he's on a warm-up lap as well. Maybe he just was making some changes on the steering wheel and wasn't paying attention. But yeah, maybe it's because he's watching Netflix. He seems to be a bit bored. Maybe they're trialing a Netflix feature on his dashboard for this race weekend.
Indeed. Angela in the comments here saying, I hope Verstappen uses less fuel than the others.
As well as Zalish saying, did Verstappen do his lap on a set of softs?
Negative.
No, he didn't. It was on a set of mediums. So currently the difference between drivers are on tyres. Verstappen's on a set of mediums. Stroll is on a set of mediums, as will 0.1 within Verstappen's time. Bottas is on a set of softs in third. Sainz, Perez are on mediums. Zhou in sixth is on a set of softs, and Leclerc and Gasly, the other people with times on the board, are also on a set of mediums for now. But we do have a whole bunch of other drivers making their way out onto track.
Indeed, Andrew in the comments here also having a go at Haas, saying Haas irritated me this year. They broke down on Australia qualifying and put Checo out. Austria, sorry.
Yes.
Broke down in the race and ruined what should have been Max's Grand Slam. Then broke down in Silverstone and took a podium from Piastri. So, yeah, I mean, Haas has they've added a little bit of spice in terms of the rest of the grid, but not necessarily positive.
Taylor says, good for Drive to Survive.
Yeah, indeed. And I think, old Gunther Steiner, of course,
with smashing of doors.
One of the highlights of, I think, Drive to Survive most of the time. And
Hamilton, sorry, Mark, finishes his lap and goes into third as Sainz takes away that fastest lap from Max Verstappen with a 133.7. So Ferrari have now called the Red Bull's bluff and improved by 0.6 seconds.
Well, not necessarily called their bluff, but certainly at least now gone out and improved upon that time by quite a bit there. I think that's 0.7 seconds. Was 0.63 seconds.
0.62, yes. If you look over there, as now Sainz or George Russell goes even faster than Verstappen on a set of, what is he on there, Mark?
Softs is George Russell. So this could be quite a quick time, as I say, 134.0, beating Verstappen, but not by much. Only a gap of next to nothing. Thank you so much, F123, for your $2.50 from New Zealand. Come on, Lando, do it under the lights. Well, absolutely fantastic. F123, one of our regulars. Very much appreciated, as we do tend to call you out. And thank you guys so much. As it says right underneath there, celebrate our first super chat of the day from F123. One more time.
This is our first super chat on the channel, I think, Mark.
On this channel?
Yes, I think
it is. It is, because of course we had quite a few super chats on the other channel, but we've moved to the new one, so thank you so much.
My word, Max Verstappen getting so close to the wall there. It was the Sergio Perez. Sorry to interrupt you. This is coming out of turn 13, now making his way through turn 14, the middle sector of this really tricky track. He's on a set of mediums right now. Max Verstappen setting the fastest first sector now on a set of mediums as well. What can Sergio Perez do in retaliation to the Flying Dutchman behind him? He comes through that that long straight now, that new sector, as he comes through the final two corners. Where will this lap time put him? He's currently sitting down in 10th. Where does he put himself? Only up into 4th. Max Verstappen, though, flying through the first and second sector.
See how Charles Leclerc does as well as he's coming around the final couple of corners here, and his time could be quite close to his teammates. I think he might move into about third position. Let's see, he's currently sitting in 12th. He moves up into third, as I did say, 1:34.095.
Much better time there from Charles Leclerc. Where does Max Verstappen go now? He's lost a little bit of time in the middle sector. Makes a big bit of a correction. He gets so close to the wall there. Did you see that? My word. Coming through turn 14. Now approaching turn 16 as he gets out of that middle sector. Turn 16 and 17, a really tricky chicane. And then coming towards those final double left-handers. Turn 18 and 19. He comes through the first one looking very neat and tidy through there. Can he improve? Yes, he does with a 1:33.6, beating Sainz's lap time by 0.118.
Yeah, indeed. And F123 saying, you're welcome, guys. Well, again, just one more time, thank you so much. But just a comment on Max getting close to the wall. Hope he hits it.
Max Verstappen, though, not happy on the radio with upshift issues. It could be because they're on an older gearbox still. They might change that out before qualifying later this afternoon. They often have a practice gearbox and then a qualifying gearbox. Just watching Lewis Hamilton, does he also maybe have a touch in the wall? No, just getting very close. Actually, I see a piece of carbon fiber flying off the car there. I wonder where that may be from. Possibly from under the floor.
No, I think maybe just hit the curb a little bit too hard, because the curbs here in Singapore aren't the friendliest. They're not as bad as some other tracks, but not the friendliest. And I think maybe just scraped a little bit too much on the floor there. Lewis Hamilton losing a tiny bit of carbon fiber from the floor of the car. Fernando Alonso now finally starts his first hot lap of the day. He's on medium tyres. Let's see how close he can get to Max Verstappen's time. Oh, my word, quite far off it. Almost a whole second so far. So, still some time to be fine.
I think this is Fernando Alonso's first run of the days, though, so he's still on a lot higher fuels. So we'll have to wait maybe for his second or third run, because Max Verstappen, I think this may have been his second run that he's done on those mediums. So we'll wait and see what they're able to do. Just watching now Alonso making his way through the middle sector. Max Verstappen, though, still holding on to that fastest lap time. He makes his way through the final sector now. Will he be coming back into the pits, or will he maybe ramp up for another hot lap? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it looks like he's starting another fast lap here for Verstappen as he comes around the corner at quite some rapid pace. And yeah, I think he's going to start another hot lap here in that Red Bull car. Fernando Alonso 1.4 seconds pretty much behind Verstappen so far at the end of Sector 2. Let's see whereabouts he ends up in comparison to, of course, this... to Verstappen's time. So,
I don't know what you're doing, Mark. You tell me.
Sorry, you're doing things on the screen. I was suddenly going, what is happening here?
You watch that screen. There's a different
43
screen.
minutes left of the session. Fernando Alonso comes across the line a little bit slower than Verstappen, at 1:35.6. So only 13th position. And Piastri's also out there on hard tyres. Got the slowest time, but it is on hard tyres. I suppose that is to be expected. Now looking at Mike Crack, and I have to say that very carefully, of course, each time. The principal of Aston Martin, of course, team principal. And yeah, I think he'll be hoping that Fernando Alonso can go around a little bit quicker.
Yes, he will be hoping that Fernando Alonso can go around a little bit quicker, but hopefully during his second or third run. Of course, this track is evolving so quickly, so Fernando might benefit from a more evolved track on a second run than Max Verstappen and the Ferrari boys were treated to. Liam Lawson, currently 0.6 seconds within that Max Verstappen's time. That puts him around Sergio Perez right now, if he can keep up that delta throughout the remainder of the lap. He won't. But if he falls back a little bit, maybe he can get to around Stroll and Bottas. Yeah, 8th or 9th.
Yeah, indeed. Going back to the comments here, Kevin's just saying, should be interesting to see how the upgraded McLaren does. And Zalish also saying Verstappen will...
Leclerc.
Oh, this, sorry. Yes, Leclerc set a first sector purple in that Ferrari medium tyres as well. So let's see if he can beat Verstappen's time as he continues going around. His second sector is not looking brilliant.
No,
it's yellows and greens only, so he might be a little bit slower in that second sector, unfortunately, as he's approaching that marker now. Yeah, he has spot a personal best, but not an improvement in terms of a purple sector. But you could still go on.
He is up on Max Verstappen's general delta, though, so that could help him. Just watching, though, with Liam Lawson, what can he do throughout the remainder of the session? I would certainly be hoping that he can outperform his teammate. I know it's horrible to hope that he outperforms Tsunoda, but I think as a rookie coming to Formula 1, it's a bit of a dream story for himself to be brought in at the last second due to an injury from Daniel Ricciardo.
Here comes Leclerc, though. Is he going to get... How close is he going to get to Max Verstappen's time? Oh, my word.
Second.
So close. Look at that. 0.003. Ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Liam Lawson puts himself up into 12th place for now. Where will Yuki Tsunoda go, though?
as Albon in that beautiful liveried Williams, I want to say McLaren because they've had a similar one in the past. It's a new Gulf livery for this race weekend. He goes up into 10th for now.
Yeah, indeed. So, guys, please be sure to go and smash that like button on the stream right now if you guys are joining us for the first time. And otherwise, just hit that like button right now. Let's get them going. And please, if you guys are new, please subscribe to the channel as well. And also let us know where you're watching from. And otherwise, give us your opinions on what's going to happen later today in qualifying and what's happening right now.
We've got George Russell. George Russell currently putting a very fast middle sector on the board at 39.4. So we'll have to wait and see what he's able to do through that final sector. He's coming through there now. George Russell goes fastest overall. He is on a set of soft tyres, though. So that is why. But you would expect them to be a lot faster than that.
Yeah. But I say on the soft tyres for Mercedes, they've only gone 0.22 seconds quicker than Verstappen, who's on medium tyres. So not quite as quick as I think they might be hoping. But of course, you know, weather's going to play a part, and otherwise, we don't know what the fuel is looking like. So potentially a good run, potentially not. But nonetheless, Russell is now currently sitting first in our timing boards here on the soft tyres.
Yes, as you said, we do now have Russell topping that timing sheet. Very, very interesting. We haven't had George Russell topping the timing board many times this season so far in pre-practice sessions. Could this mean that those Mercedes have some pace? Of course, they're on different tyres. I understand that. But I think they've been quite fast here this weekend.
Yeah, no, I think they have been as well. So let's see if they can keep it up in qualifying later today. Hamilton now, of course, has just crossed the line, I think, as well. Yes, well, just seeing his time there. He goes into 4th position, a 133.7 on, what tyres did he run there?
Who's this?
Hamilton. He's on softs as well.
Hamilton's on
Sainz now has just gone the quickest around there. There you go. Look at that from Carlos Sainz. Also on a set of mediums still. So a 133.19. So quite a bit quicker than Russell already. So Ferrari's looking very quick.
Once again, though, this track is really evolving. I think we have Max Verstappen on a... Wait, is he? Is he in the pits or is he in...
Max Verstappen's in the pits.
In the pits, yes, he is. So Max Verstappen maybe just putting in a little bit more fuel and then might go out for another run on those mediums. F123 saying, Oscar ain't looking fast here. It is a really difficult circuit and Piastri, I don't think, has a lot of experience around here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping he's just getting a little bit more familiar with the track, and then we'll see some better times being put in by him a bit later.
Yeah, so clearly his street circuits aren't the one for Oscar Piastri at the moment. I don't think he did particularly well in Monaco either. So we'll see how he fares for the rest of the weekend, though so far it's not looking good because he was slow yesterday at both sessions. In this session he's been looking slow, and he needs to try and find pace before qualifying.
Yes, he does need to find some pace. He needs to get his confidence up around the circuit where confidence is everything. It's like Monaco. If you're not confident going into those corners, you may as well sit at home because you really need to grin and bear it through every single corner around the circuit, and you cannot have a lapse in concentration for a single second, otherwise you're going to end up in the wall.
No, exactly that. So we've got 38 minutes left of the session here in FP3 Singapore. Let's see, we've got more than 200 people watching. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Let's keep that building. Let's get up to 300 as quickly as possible.
Yes, and to help us get up to that marker, please be sure to hit that like button. We only have 31 likes currently on this video. If you do hit that like button, it really helps us get promoted by the YouTube algorithm. So please be sure to go and hit that, as well as check out all of our channel partners down in the link in the description. Thank you very much. As well as we've also got our Discord linked in our chat. So if you want to join our Motorsports dedicated community on Discord, do be sure to go and join that as well. Still looking out on track. Not a lot of action right now with, I think, majority of the people coming in.
I think Sainz has gone quicker again in the first sector. So let's see if he can improve upon that in the second sector and the third. How is he going to finish up here? His lap time is going to be quite good, I'm hoping. Let's see.
I think this might just be a replay of when he did put in that fastest lap time. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Just checking that.
Yeah, we're now here. Got 37 minutes left of the session as Max Verstappen now makes his way back out onto track. Is that a set of soft? No, still mediums. I think it is.
Still a set of scrub mediums. So he is going out with a little bit more fuel in there to do another run on those medium tyres, and then they'll maybe set him out on a set of hards or maybe softs later on. He's going to actually do a practice start as well. Watching Charles Leclerc, what happens to him here coming into turn 1, he has a bit of a snap there. Yeah. Bit of a snap of oversteer as he comes into turn 1 and has to dive onto the runoff zone. Luckily, they do have that runoff zone into turn 1.
Yeah, so just have a small mistake there from Charles Leclerc, but not a problem at all.
Putting in a purple mini sector at the moment. What is Magnussen doing? He's currently down in P8. Not bad for that Haas. What do you think he can do through the remainder of the session, though, Mark?
Not much.
No.
That's my very brutal and honest answer. I don't see much happening from Haas this weekend. Magnussen sits in 8th, but I don't think he'll end up there. Looking at the comments here, Kevin just saying Sargent has lost confidence, I feel, like the last few races, and is not pushing it that far. Yeah, Sargent runs 15th. Williams has not been looking particularly quick this weekend. But I worry a little bit about Logan Sargent because we said that he should be safe for next year, but I don't know. It's just he's not performing as much as I'd like to see from him. There's nothing too special that I'm seeing from Logan Sargent quite as of yet. Donnie Lessing here joining us from Volcom. Don't miss that like button ever. Well, great to see if that you do not miss it. So thank you so much for joining us on the stream.
A couple of drivers currently in the pits with quite a few still out on track. We got Gasly, Leclerc. Ooh, what happened?
Just nice talking about Logan Sargent. He came around one of the corners there and really took it a little bit wide and ramped the curb and got quite a bit of damage to the floor there. So he might well come back into the pits, or maybe not. I think he's just checking. But yeah, just a little bit of a moment there from Logan Sargent. So quite good timing there, Kevin, with regards to your comment. Albon, though, is finishing up a fast lap here on a set of softs. Where does he put himself as he's coming around the final couple of bends now? And here we go. And he crosses the line. Where does he move? Nowhere. Still
9th, though.
No, you're still in
an improvement.
It's a small improvement. Yeah, it's a small improvement. Yeah.
So, I mean, better. Yeah, he was in 11th. He moves to 9th, so at least within the top 10 now. Sergio Perez is on an outlap, as is Max Verstappen. I think is maybe starting his hot lap. Russell's on the hot lap, though, putting in some purple mini sectors. Max Verstappen on an outlap still. He's going quite slowly, maybe doing a double push or a double outlap. Yeah, nothing too impressive from Verstappen as of yet.
Yeah, indeed. And some more people coming into the comments. Great to have you guys here. Please keep it going and ask us some questions. And otherwise give you opinions as well. Seeing some here.
Yellow flag.
Yellow flag. Would you have a yellow flag? Let's see who it is. I think it's Norris, potentially. Oh, I think Verstappen's been held up by Norris quite badly in his run, maybe. Yeah, I think it was Norris.
No, Norris gets out the way. This is it's an AlphaTauri. An AlphaTauri's gone and binned it somewhere. Luckily not causing any damage. That's Liam Lawson. Has he broken his front wing though?
No, I think he's good. Green flag is now shown.
It's in the first corner. So, yeah, lost in the first corner. Russell has gone even faster with the 132.8. In all that commotion of the yellow flags, George Russell went even faster than Carlos Sainz on a set of softs, so it should be mentioned.
Yes, indeed. And comments, just going back to them quickly, F123 saying, what on earth did Helmut Marko do? Well, there's a video on the channel recently explaining exactly what it is. You can go check that out.
Big locker from Liam Lawson. Very lucky to keep it out of the barriers. This is actually coming, straight after the long run into turn 1. He locks it up on the brake into the entry into turn 3 as he does the change of direction, and lucky to keep it out of the Tech Pro barrier.
Very, very lucky. I think he just wraps the curb a bit too much as well. So
a little bit too much pace coming through into that change of direction into turn 3.
Yeah. Well, luckily he's out of the wall, so not a big problem there, but a little bit of quite a big tyre mark, obviously, on those tyres as a result of that little spin. And yeah, we'll carry on. Yeah, Russell, as I say, first here, Sainz second, Verstappen in third. So the Red Bulls have seemingly found more of the pace that they were looking for yesterday in the station.
Maybe they just have more pace in these conditions, and their pace falls off in the cooler conditions. Just watching though, Daniel Ricciardo currently looking over in the AlphaTauri garage. He's here as an engineering in an engineering capacity this weekend to help with the set of the two cars. Glad to see him back in the Formula 1 paddock. Hopefully we'll get him back in the Formula 1 car very soon. Taya saying, join the Discord, guys. I'm very, very lonely there. Yes, please, guys, do be sure to join Taya in the comments there and in the Discord server. Yeah, Pooja also asking, how is Russell performing better than Lewis in the same machine at the moment? I think Lewis Hamilton is just doing... I think he's doing all right. Maybe just getting to grips with the car. We normally see this. He gets his confidence throughout the practice sessions and then really does show his true pace in qualifying.
Indeed. Kevin's saying Yuki Tsunoda needs to destroy Lawson this week. I mean, it's quite a big comment there. I think coming in, it's quite opinionated, quite strongly opinionated there. But yeah, so we'll see what happens there. F123 saying Max is in unfamiliar territory. Not really. Doesn't always top practice, but when it comes to the qualifying, then you see a different thing. He's got yellow sectors in sector 1 and sector 2.
He's doing race right now.
So I think we've stopped the qualifying intents here, or the qualifying sims.
138 is looking like the race run for 138.1 is the medium race run for Max Verstappen. So do be sure to note that and
Might be a
keep
little
that
bit
in
quicker,
mind.
though.
It
Because
could
of
get
conditions,
it could get a bit faster tomorrow afternoon. But we say that the sun is starting to set now in Singapore, so it is a lot more close to what we're going to see. You can see the sun is setting. It's getting a lot cooler as we're watching through the visor of Lewis Hamilton starting a hot lap on a set of softs. Now, what can he do?
Yeah, indeed. And just looking here at the general list, Hamilton's only setting personal bests and a little bit of slower ones. I don't think he's going to get a purple sector quite as of yet. But Charles Leclerc has set, of course, he's in the pits right now, so not needing to worry too much about him. But in the last sector, he's got a few purple sectors, mini sectors there, so it's quite good to see from him. Hamilton, though, finishes his first sector. It's a personal best, but it's not a purple. So he's going to have to find some more pace somewhere else in the field as he's now trying to compete with Russell's time. Let's follow his lap closely as we continue.
Yes, personal best in the first sector. I see some purple mini sectors in the second sector as well as some yellow mini sectors. So we'll have to wait and see what he's able to do through that second sector. He is on that set of softs though, so you would expect him to be able to get quite high up on the timing board. But not able to match his teammate right now with 39.266 versus his teammates at 39.111. So he is a little bit off for George Russell, but still there and thereabouts with him within all those sectors. 0.1 down at the moment through each sector.
Well, F123 there is just predicting a pole lap time to be 1:31.533. Andy here saying, hello from Singapore. Well, hello. I hope you're at the Grand Prix. It's not exactly that big a city, Singapore, so hopefully it's right around the corner from where you are.
Yes, Andy, if you are joining us from the Singapore Grand Prix, please do be sure to reach out to us on Discord. We'd love to get some fan cams and fan footage. Always would love to see more footage from you guys and your experiences at Formula 1 Grand Prix, and would love to put that on the channel with your guys' permission, of course. Just watching, though, as Lewis Hamilton did cross the line, he puts himself in second with a 1:33.1. Still quite a bit off of his teammate, but within second place at least.
I think the biggest problem for Mercedes there out of this is we've just hit now more than just under half an hour left of the session is the fact that they're currently first and second, yes, but on the soft tyres. Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth are all on mediums and are not too far away from their times. So I think they've got to worry a little bit about the times they're putting in on their softs. Should be quite a bit quicker than that, or at least the car in general should be quicker.
Yes, the car in general should be quite a lot quicker. Just looking at the times from Lawson versus Tsunoda. Tsunoda is demolishing him at the moment. But we'll have to wait and see what happens in qualifying later. That's, of course, where it all counts. Do be sure to join us for that. As we have how much longer left of the session? 28 minutes and 40 seconds left of the session.
Indeed. And Rod Shepherd here joining us as per usual from Thailand. Great to have you here in the chat. So quite a few cars have made their way into the pits. Let's just look at some outstanding numbers that we've not really been talking about too much. Norris is up in 6th. So not too bad for the McLaren. We've not noted McLaren too much this session so far. Fernando Alonso is up in 7th. Magnussen still in 8th. Ocon in 9th. And Logan Sargent is beating his teammate currently in 10th. Ahead of Alex Albon, who's in 11th. So Perez, though, being very slow so far, only in 12th.
Yes, Perez not possibly doing as many race runs or as many quali runs, should I say, as Max Verstappen. Just doing some race runs maybe to get some more data for their race. He's done 10 laps so far on these tyres. Actually, Max Verstappen's done more. So for all I say he's doing the race runs, Max Verstappen's done the most laps out of those two Red Bull drivers. The most laps, though, by anyone has been done by the two Alfa Romeo boys. They've both done 15 laps yet today.
Yeah, indeed. So seeing that as a very, very good thing. They're 15 laps for both Alfa Romeos, and yet they're still very, very slow. Probably, of course, during those race simulations. So we're not going to see that much more. I don't expect much from Alfa Romeo, unfortunately, this week. So Zardish, they're giving his prediction, or her, or your prediction, for the qualifying time that is going to get them pole, and it's going to be a 1:31.15. Watching a replay here of Max Verstappen, also just like Charles Leclerc, small snap around of
understeer coming into turn 1. He has a small moment there, has to make a correction on the wheel, gets pushed wide over the curb into turn 2, has to run off and go around that bollard, which is the technical directive as well for this weekend. You have to go around that bollard. If you rejoin during the race or qualifying, you may get a penalty.
Yeah, so good appreciation of what must happen from Max Verstappen there. 27 minutes left of this session. And we're now following here on board with, I think that is Oscar Piastri. Yes, it is. Who's got 2 green sectors here on hard tyres. He's been on hard tyres.
Yuki Tsunoda has put himself all the way up into 7th, Mark.
Yeah, not too bad on the medium tyre as well. So just behind the Lando Norris's McLaren. So quite a good time from Yuki Tsunoda there. But let's see what Piastri can do in these hard tyres.
15th.
So 15th on hard tyres is really not bad.
No, I think he has now found his confidence around this track. Hopefully he can do a lot better with a better tyre compound. We'll have to wait and see what he does. 1.6 seconds off of Russell on a set of softs. That's not too bad. I would expect him to make up about 1.2, 1.3 on a set of softs.
So he should be somewhere near his teammate either way on those soft tyres. So hopefully we're seeing Piastri come back into this race weekend here. Looking at track dominance between Russell and Hamilton, interestingly, there's no real significant area that either driver is stronger. Well, Hamilton's stronger in one of the straights and the main start-finish straight, but Russell's stronger in the straight and that has turn 6 in it, which is the longest straight on the track.
What that means, though, is that because Hamilton is faster down 2 of the 3 straights, Hamilton gets a better exit. And he's able to just get a higher top speed. Leclerc now on a race run, he's not opening his DRS as he comes through turn 5 and turn 6 now. Doing a race simulation. Let's see what they're able to do. We noted that the Red Bull's race sim was a 138.1. So what can the Ferraris do?
Yeah, and just looking at the comments here as well, let us know, guys, what do you think the Ferraris can do here with their race pace? And F123 saying, who do you think will bin it first?
Sargent.
Logan Sargent, again. It's always Sargent, unfortunately. I reckon it might be Stroll. Stroll currently sitting in 14th compared to his teammate who's in 8th. Stroll needs to find some pace in that Aston Martin. It's a phrase that's become synonymous with F1. Just following out Charles Leclerc as he finishes up sector 2. His time is 2.780 seconds behind Russell. Of course, this is a race simulation, not a quali sim, so is expected to be quite a bit slower. So let's see what sort of time he puts in at the end here and compare that to Verstappen's time, which was a 1:38, I think it was, yeah. So that's more or less the race pace that Verstappen had on the medium tire. So let's see what the Ferrari race pace is here as he's coming around the final couple of bends here and he crosses the line in a much quicker time than Max Verstappen in terms of the medium race run, a 1:36.448.
Yeah. It's different, but we don't know what fuel loads they're on. Max Verstappen is still running out there, so he may be on a much higher fuel load than Leclerc is currently on.
True.
It's very difficult to compare when you don't know all the variables that the teams are running. Leclerc is still running out there on track, so he'll be doing quite a few race runs for some time now.
Yeah, very upsetting to see Indy's not going to be at the Grand Prix. Tickets apparently a hell of a pricey, and there's not really a great vantage point of view from outside or for free. Well, I'm very sorry for that. Just don't be poor.
Can't say that, Mark.
I'm joking.
Singapore, unfortunately, is one of the most expensive tracks. It's like Monaco when you want to go and watch. It's extremely expensive, and the only real way you can watch is if you live in one of the buildings around the circuit.
Yeah, indeed. And looking at the predictions as who's going to bin it first, Pureblood say Yuki Tsunoda is going to bin it. Indy, though, agreeing with me and saying Lance Stroll might be one of those right up there. In terms of going into a wall. F123 saying, what a prediction. Hope Stroll bins it. He needs to be out. Well, not much love lost for Stroll there.
Clearly not.
Yeah. Not a very busy track at the moment. We've got both Ferraris out there. We've got Yuki Tsunoda. We've got Perez still out there. Piastri, Bottas, and Zhou. So the rest of them are all finding themselves in the pits. F123 also asking the comments, hands up who is a Stroll fan. I don't think you're going to have any comments back towards you. We're not going to see much movement there.
Yeah, no, not going to see too much there in terms of support for Lance Stroll. But, yeah, we'll just see what they're able to do throughout the rest of the session for their race simulations. Where the two Aston Martins currently, they're sitting down in 14th and 9th. Not brilliant. Hopefully they'll have a little bit more pace in qualifying. There's not many drivers out on track, though, unfortunately, at the moment. It's just, I was going to say, Tsunoda, Leclerc, Sainz, but it's just the Ferraris now as Tsunoda makes his way into the pits.
It's exactly that. And yeah, see, Pureblood is saying I'm a Lawrence fan, not a Lance fan. I think a lot of people are like that.
Yes. I think it's hilarious that Lance Stroll, the driver, has less support than his own father, who owns the team.
Yeah, but his father's transformed Aston Martin over the last few years. So everyone loves him for that because they brought Aston Martin back to the sort of reputation they're supposed to have, not just in F1, but in the world of cars as well. You know, Aston Martin has basically done themselves back up to the point that everyone likes them to be at. They were dying off quite a bit for a number of years. Lawrence Stroll changed that significantly, but he's put his son into a Formula One seat in that Aston Martin car, and nobody supports this. So, unfortunately, that's the truth of the day.
Yes, Ferrari's still out on track running for a little bit longer. Max Verstappen has done 12 laps still. Hasn't improved on that. Leclerc has now done 15. Tsunoda's done 11. Perez has done 12. So quite a lot of laps being put in by drivers here today.
Yeah, indeed. And I think a few more drivers are now making their way back out onto the track. Russell being one of those. Tsunoda also rejoining the track. I'm sure we're going to have some more drivers join as we've got just about 21 minutes left of the session to go.
Yes, not that long left of the session. Almost at 300 viewers now, guys. Do be sure to hit that like button. Yep, always wanting to gather more of you guys to join us here on this Formula 1 based channel.
The gathering.
Yes, the gathering of Formula 1 fans and motorsport fans. Let us know. Actually, I think we should throw up a poll. Because Andy saying, ouch, Mark, I be counter poor. And yep, Reese, true. Could probably view it from boulders or buildings around, but most are hotels or office buildings. Very unfortunate. But a little bit of maybe market research for us on this channel. What other forms of motorsport would you like to watch on this channel? We've been talking about maybe a little bit of NASCAR, because we know that's big with the American fans. Mark, less interested in that.
No, of course, this is just understanding what people would like to get a little bit more content on as well outside of Formula 1. Of course, most of us here are dedicated Formula 1 fans, but some of you might also be interested in other motorsports too.
So, what options should we get out there? I think
MotoGP?
MotoGP is certainly one of the biggest ones, one that I'm also quite interested in. MotoGP, let's put in NASCAR, IndyCar and Le Mans maybe.
Yes. Problem is, Le Mans only one.
I'm not doing 24 hours on my own though. You can forget that.
Let's have Le Mans up there as well. Indeed.
World Endurance Championship is more.
WEC. Yes, indeed. Let's go for that. So go and participate in the poll. Let us know what would you like to see on the channel as well outside of Formula 1. And if you don't want to watch
Drifting, Pure Blood said.
Drifting, yes. No, it's true.
Jim Connor.
But if you guys don't want to watch anything else but Formula 1, just don't vote.
George Russell currently blitzing it out on track on a new set of softs. He's setting some really fast mini sectors now. We could see some other drivers coming out onto track. As I say that, we do have Lando Norris, Alonso, Ocon, Sargent and Albon all out on brand new softs. F123 saying, I'll send another super chat when Lando Norris goes to the top timing boards. If he goes to the timing boards, I think you have to give $100 super chat.
Wow, shame. No,
I'm joking.
We're not going to do that, but just
if he takes pole, then maybe.
Yes. Russell's really motoring around on these softs, so hopefully we're going to find some better pace from Mercedes. Though, having said that, Lando Norris is out on track on a set of softs, so let's see if that McLaren can do that. So it's a brave call, F123. It's a very brave call, and we're going to hold him to it.
Interesting to see though our votes currently going. Not a lot of support for NASCAR, lots of votes for MotoGP. Glad to hear that though, because I love MotoGP myself. I've been to a MotoGP race. F123 saying 0% for NASCAR. Unfortunately, some people have voted for it now. Unfortunately, maybe fortunately, George Russell crosses the line and goes fastest overall with a 132.3. That's more what we'd expect to see on those soft tires. But we have Lando Norris. F123, if Lando Norris goes fastest overall, you better keep to your word because he is putting in some really good mini sectors at the moment, some purple mini sectors.
Purple and green mini sectors here for Lando Norris in that McLaren. So I think he's going to go and he's probably going to go and beat that lap time there. So it's going to be a bit of a difficult one for you now. He's got set the purple first sector. There you go. Here goes Lando Norris.
What can Lando Norris do? Race control have noted black and white flag for Valtteri Bottas for failing to follow race directors' instructions for crossing the line at the pit entry. Lando Norris, though, still putting in green sectors in that middle sector. Can he improve? Ocon setting some purple mini sectors as well, but Lando Norris, I see another purple.
To be fair, I did notice from F123, he didn't say if Lando Norris goes to the top of the board, he says when. Yes. So I do enjoy that. It was pretty much like it's a certainty. I also enjoy the fact that you said $20 if he gets pole, so I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately.
Albon goes to the, up into the top 5 with the P4 qualifying lap now. Lando Norris, what can he do through the middle sector? Green in the middle sector, but still very, very well done. Ocon goes second now with the 132.9. What can Lando do in that final sector?
Still up on Russell's time. Can he get ahead of Russell before the end here? And force F123 into, unfortunately, a decision there. And he's going to have to try and make. Here he comes around the final couple of corners here. Can Norris do it? Not just for himself, but for the channel. Let's see. Norris comes across the line now, and he moves into first position. There you go.
With the 132.303. Brilliant for Lando Norris. F123 is going to be very, very happy there, as Lando Norris has now gone fastest overall for this for this FP3 session. Sorry, yes. Getting very excited for qualifying later.
Indeed. I like these sort of bets. And if you guys are looking for a way to bet, be sure to go and check out one of our channel partners, BoyleSports.
And we now have hit 300 viewers. Thank you very much.
It's exactly that. So, again, check out our channel sponsors, guys. Bitdefender and of course, BoyleSports as well.
Yes, so Hamilton is also currently on a hot lap at the moment. He's stolen that middle sector away from Lando Norris.
Well, from Russell, actually.
From Russell, sorry, that is. But he is not improving on his final sector there.
Well, he's got purple sectors and yellow mini sectors in the final sector at the moment. So it's very odd from Hamilton. Now I've got a personal best. Hamilton finishes up his lap. He moves into third. And also somebody making note there, not a raccoon, saying, Ocon, look at that. Ocon has gone into fourth position there.
Pure Blood say, F123, cough up, mate. I'm loving all of the banter in the chat at the moment. Great to see all of you guys interacting with us and each other. If you want to chat more and get to know each other better, please do be sure to go and join that Discord server that's currently linked in that chat. Still 15 minutes and 45 seconds left of the session at the moment.
Watching a replay here of Alex Albon, and he does just, I think, touch the wall ever so slightly with his rear tyre. He does
brilliant from Alex Albon. That's probably within a centimetre.
You could not get closer if you tried.
Just taking a picture of...
Oh, there you go. Look at him. He's done it. Well done, F123. Appreciate it. Go on, Lando, he says. $2. Very much appreciated. Please bear in mind, you really don't have to. It's not a requirement. But you did sort of say that you would, I suppose. You're going to be held to book by the 300 people watching. So very much appreciate that. And again, one more time. F123, you can go give him a round of applause in the comments. Keeping his word. And $2 donation there from New Zealand. Very much appreciated.
You'll get a round of applause from us as well once I find the emoji for it. No, I can find it.
There we go.
No, we want the clapping one.
That's the clapping one. The same one.
How do I do this?
I'll do it. There you go. Let's press enter. We're good.
There.
Appreciate it.
There you go. Liam Lawson currently on a hot lap at the moment, 0.8 down on Lando Norris's hottest lap out there. This puts him around Stroll in the first sector. Let's see what carries on happening around here now. Just to note, please keep voting in that poll that we've currently got running. We're asking you guys what you would be interested in watching on this channel. Other forms of motorsport, we've got options such as MotoGP with 61%, loving MotoGP as an option. Thank you very much for all of those of you who have voted. And then it's very close between NASCAR, IndyCar and World Endurance Championship. Lawson moves himself up now into P10 ahead of his teammate.
Indeed, Gasly going around here quite quickly as well. Let's see what sort of time he can put in at the end here. His teammate Ocon moved into 5th at the moment, so really not too bad from him.
Piastri up into P4 though, Mark. He's finally found some good pace around this track. Glad to see as Gasly comes across the line now, he moves himself up into 10th.
So Kevin, you've just been answered there. Come on, Piastri, showing some pace now. Indeed, yes, he has now moved into 4th position in that McLaren, so great to see him find some pace. And now looking at Christian Horner with just 13.5 minutes left of the session, looking at his Red Bulls as Verstappen now gearing up to start his first hot lap on soft tyres today.
Yes, what can Max Verstappen do in his challenging Red Bull? It was not looking great yesterday in practice 2. They were 7th and 8th, Verstappen being in 8th, not normal at all for the Red Bull boys. But what will they be able to do here this session? F123 saying, here come the papaya. Kevin Taylor also saying Max is going to start a hot lap shortly, as well as Pure Blood saying, come on Lawson, let's get the 3-0 versus Yuki.
Max is going around this first sector, set all of them personal bests, but nothing purple, and a slightly less than best of sector 1. So let's see if he can actually improve upon Norris's time in sector 1. I don't think he will be. No, he hasn't. He hasn't improved upon Norris's time in sector 1.
But we often see Verstappen, he is very cautious with his tyres going through the first sector, then rarely releases it into the second sector. He is 0.2 down though on Lando Norris's hot lap.
Quite a bit of time to make up. I don't think he's going to be able to make it up. He's setting some more personal bests in sector 2, but again, no purple sectors here. So Max Verstappen not going around as quickly as he might want to, though again, I do imagine that this will be his first run, and then he'll have another run again, which could be quite a bit quicker. But at the moment, Norris looks to be comfortably in first.
What can he do though through the second sector as he is about to finish it up here? Kevin Taylor saying Piastri clears Lawson. It's not fair though that to compare those two drivers. No, certainly not easy to compare those two. Max Verstappen personal best in the middle sector, setting some more green markers
at the moment, but nothing purple. What can he do? 0.3 down on Norris's time.
Yeah,
That's not good enough. This is going to put him behind Hamilton.
I'm about to say, he's not going to be particularly quick here, Verstappen. He's coming around the final bench here. Let's see whereabouts he finishes up in terms of the list. He's going to move himself into 4th only, so still behind those 2 Mercedes. And this is on the soft
I think he may have been on higher fuel, though. Let's see if he does another warm-down lap and then sets himself up for another push lap.
Yeah, indeed, exactly that. So just people in comments, just trying to find out where people live. Careful how you answer those questions. Don't give actual addresses. Countries are fine. Maybe even cities, but from there, let's try not do it too much. Just 11 minutes and just about 11 minutes left, I suppose.
Yeah, 11 minutes, 5 seconds left of the session as Carlos Sainz is on a push lap right now. He clears now the Aston Martin as Mark goes off to start setting up some other things on our side. Leclerc also on a hot lap at the moment. Sainz not being able to match Norris in the first sector. Lando Norris putting in another hot lap at the moment. Some personal bests. Quick yellow flag for someone there, but it's cleared again. Maybe just going into the runoff zone. I don't know who that is, but we should find that out quite shortly. Leclerc as well with the first personal best sector, but no purple mini sectors at the moment. Who will be able to challenge these McLarens here today? Lots of people letting us know where they're following in from in the chat. Carlos Sainz goes fastest in the middle sector. Lando Norris goes even faster in the final sector and improves on his lap time with a 132.585. Sainz, though, really going fast through that middle sector. Will he be able to go even faster in the final sector? Indy asking if Max is sandbagging. No More Dreams saying, come on, Max, come on, Red Bull. As Sainz now goes fastest overall with a 132.065. Brilliant from Carlos Sainz. James saying Max is chilling in 3rd gear. We'll wait and see, though, if that is true. Will Max just chill and go for another push lap here? Maybe they were on some high fuel loads for their first run. We'll have to wait and see. Max Verstappen ramping up at the moment, coming through that final sector, whether he'll be able to go and put in another hot lap. We'll wait and see as he does approach the pits soon. We'll wait and see if he does put in another hot lap or if he goes back into those pits. James Pitts saying Ferrari not looking good if this is race pace simulations. No, they've done their race pace already, and hopefully they're going to be looking quite fast. Their race pace was looking a little bit faster than the Red Bulls, to be honest there, James. James, of course, for all of you guys that don't know, James is one of our channel seniors, I would say, and they're across in France at the moment for the World Cup, the Rugby World Cup, so please do be sure to go and support our main channel, Forever Sports, for all things Rugby World Cup related at the moment. Is it all ready to get going there, Mark?
We're all ready. So just here noting that we've got 360 people watching, so let's get up to 400 just before the end of the session. We've got only 8 minutes, 8 and a bit minutes left of the session. Sainz has now gone quickest, a 132.0, so great from Ferrari there. Unfortunately, going ahead of Norris. Sorry, F123, he has gone ahead of you, man. But, you know, not by too much.
No, as you say, not by too much. Let's see, though, what happens throughout the remainder of the session. A lot of drivers still ramping up to start some hot laps. Max Verstappen should have started another hot lap. Where is he? He's come back into the pits. I did think he may.
Yeah,
he's got another outlap, though, so possibly just filled him up, made a few sets of changes, and he's going to go again.
Yeah, I think that might be exactly that. So let's see if Verstappen does. Well, having said that, yeah, is he making his way out? Because our timing boards hasn't got him out yet, which is a bit odd.
Verstappen is on an outlap.
Yes, he is.
Just hearing from Pure Blood, thank you. We always do appreciate your comments when you do give us some more insight that we may have missed on our side. Aston Martin were quickest in race sims. If Nando can get P4 in quali, there are a good chance that he can get his 33rd win. Good to hear from Pure Blood there. Let's see what Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin can do in qualifying later this evening, as well as in the race tomorrow afternoon.
F123 asking if Ferrari is actually good next year, do you think he could fight Max? Well,
I do think so. Leclerc is a good driver, as well as the driver pairing of Leclerc and Sainz. As Leclerc now comes across the line and puts himself up into P4, I think Leclerc and Sainz would be a great pairing if they're given the competitive car and competitive strategies throughout the season.
I was about to say, I think strategy calls are a big thing for Ferrari, as well as their car, of course, but also Charles Leclerc needs to find some consistency and just needs to be careful, because I think it's a very difficult one sometimes, because we always back him as a brilliant driver, which he is, but he does seem to have You know, these moments, these lapses in concentration where he ends up in a wall or does something stupid. You know, what Max Verstappen's done very well these past few seasons is just being conservative when he needs to be and attacks when he needs to be. Knowing and understanding that difference when you can push and when you don't is very, very important.
Yes, it is very important, and we're seeing now, I think this is Max Verstappen. Yes, he is. He's just getting out the way there for the Williams. Yeah, he's ramping up on his outlap to start another hot lap. Let's see what he's able to do though, Mark.
Indeed, and Verstappen now just 0.57 seconds behind Sainz after his previous fast lap was set. So he's ramping up to start another one as he comes around the final couple of corners and gets going with what will probably be his fastest lap of the day.
Max is coming into the pits.
Oh dear.
He's got something with the upshifts on his car that they're trying to fix. So they're bringing him in again, hopefully to fix that.
I enjoy the chat there, guys, and says, Max, can you please box this lap? I need to check something on the upshift. It says, I just came into the pits. I mean, quite as obviously as the engine would know. It says, yes, I know that. I wouldn't call you in because of, I didn't think you had been. This is known. We just want to test something else. So Max not looking particularly chuffed with life. I think he's a little bit frustrated not being able to start another hot lap here. I think Red Bull are a little bit frustrated right now because they're not as quick as they want to be.
This is not the first time we've seen them a little bit hot-headed and a little bit flustered in Singapore. We had the same thing last year where they made some really uncharacteristic for Red Bull. They made some strategy errors in qualifying where they just did not have the car set up correct. Or no, they did have the car set up correct. They thought they were going to have enough time to get out again, fuel up the car, get Max out again. They didn't. Max went out, was underfueled. They had to bring him into the pits, and his qualifying was completely destroyed from that.
I mean, look at the track dominance between Sainz and Verstappen right now. Sainz significantly better than Verstappen in almost every sector. The only sector that he's not is turns 1, 2, 3, 5, and 18 and 19 for Verstappen. Everything else, though, goes to Sainz. So Ferrari looking quite good out there.
Yes, Ferrari are looking very, very comfortable out there at the moment. I think they're going to be one to watch for qualifying later this evening.
You know, this might well be the first race that Verstappen doesn't win.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if this race can bring an end to Max Verstappen's dominance this season. Watching now, I think this is Carlos Sainz finishing up a lap. He goes even faster.
Yeah, well, I think he's only starting a hot lap now, so we'll see how quick he goes. Can he go quicker than his current time? Let's see the sectors he's putting in. He's got green and yellow sectors, unfortunately, so I don't think he's going to improve in the sector too much. I want to see some more purple sectors there and some more green sectors perhaps, but I think it's going to be a slow first sector you have for Sainz as it comes up towards the end. Just getting out of the way for Reese, and I think Reese is going to go and
Just one about rugby streams just to get things going, but then I will be back in a few minutes.
I am actually Mark, so I'm going to lean across this way, but it's fine. I'm just going to be in the middle here for now. It's absolutely fine.
You can also just hide my name there if you want to.
Indeed. And yeah, just looking at the comments here, we've got Leclerc Sainz class pairing. Indeed, they are probably one of the best pairings in the grid if they can just get the car and the team to back them up as well. Indy saying, what makes Singapore such a different track that's making Red Bull struggle? Well, I don't think it's necessarily the track's fault, as Reese has been making note of the entire time. It's more to do with the the changes right now in the technical directive. Yeah, so we're just looking at that. Russell now going around. He's currently third in the standings. Set a better second sector for himself. First sector was slow. His third sector now finishing it up now. Crosses the line. Very quick still. For all that, he didn't look necessarily as quick as I thought he might be. Just 0.069 seconds behind Carlos Sainz. So Mercedes really not looking too slow out there, which is great to see. Lando Norris still up in third right now, so not too bad for F123 there. Carlos Sainz watching a replay here, just loses it a little bit. The start of his lap there, just goes over the curb a bit too much. Pure Blood saying, Merck are sandbagging big time. I'm not so sure they are. I don't think they're ones to sandbag at the moment because, quite frankly, why would you? Andrew just saying, Checo won in Azerbaijan and Saudi Arabia. But yes, no, he did. I'm just saying, Max Verstappen has won 10 in a row now. Can this be the first weekend that he doesn't continuously win each race as we go on? So, yeah, we'll see. Just 2 minutes and 14 seconds left of this session. And then, of course, it'll be the end of the session, and we'll just give a quick review on that and start our next session, of course, as well, for the qualifying session, which will take part later today. Let us know in the comments right now, based off of the information you've seen so far this weekend, who's going to top qualifying?
Ferrari.
Yes, Reese just acting in the background if you can't quite hear him, just going and saying Ferrari's going to top qualifying. So we're now following Charles Leclerc. Start a hot lap here. Let's see his mini sector times. Got a couple of yellows, but a couple of greens as well. So I don't think it's going to improve too much. But I got a purple mini sector though. So let's see if Charles Leclerc can go quicker right near the end here. As somebody was saying, this is going to be the quick times now right at the end here. 1 minute and 25 seconds left. So this is going to be the final couple of runs here. Charles Leclerc does set a purple sector 1. Purple sector 1, 26.95. So let's see if he can continue that as he goes around the track. Unfortunately, the second sector is not looking good so far. 3 yellow mini sectors here for Charles Leclerc so far. So it might not be as quick in the second sector. Max Verstappen also starting a fast lap here. 0.04 seconds behind in sector 1 though to Sainz's time. So I think Verstappen's still not able to find all that pace that he's looking for. Charles Leclerc still continuing in the second sector. Unfortunately, I think he's had to put up with a bit of traffic and he's got yellow mini sectors the entire way. So not a great sector for Charles Leclerc. Still following on board with Max Verstappen. Let's see his mini sector times. He's got a couple of greens, but most of them yellow. He's got 1 purple though. So let's see if he can improve on that time. Charles Leclerc's mini sectors are not looking good. So his second sector time is going to be, I think, yellow probably for himself. Let's see. His second sector is, who knows, waiting still. I think he's given up on his time. Indeed, Verstappen's mini sector time, though, his second sector time was a personal best again, so he could be quite quick here as it's coming into the final sectors here. I think Charles Leclerc gave up on his lap. He did. He's ramping up, I think, to start another one now because we are literally right at the end here. Verstappen coming around the corner. What does he get in his time? He gets a 1:32.378, so only up into 4th. So not brilliant for Max Verstappen and Red Bull. People in the comments just saying, how many hours until Q1? Q1 is at 3 o'clock, so that will be in 2.5 hours time from now. Martin Fortu, not seeing you in the comments, just saying, why are you only talking about Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari? We've not seen the other Haas boys. Well, Matt Hulkenberg and Magnussen on 9th and 10th. And whilst they're there right now, I don't think they'll end up there later on. Charles Leclerc is also now just watching a replay there. He's actually just had a little bit of a small issue, which is why...
I was going to say, we're going to have to swap because your name is not Reese.
which is why we saw the fact that he had to give up on his lap. Oh my word, quite a big little moment there. Luckily keeps it out of the walls. Just goes over the curb quite heavily there. But now he's trying to set another fast lap here. It's not looking very quick though. So I think these are pretty much going to be our final times of the day, guys. So Sainz will finish FP3 first.
Yes, just waiting for the last few drivers to cross the line here now, as you say there, Mark. Quite a few there. I didn't necessarily hear what happened there at the end. Lando Norris still holds on to 3rd, Russell in 2nd. I think we could have a very, very exciting qualifying ahead of us later. 4 constructors making up the top 4 right now. Ferrari in 1, Mercedes with Russell in 2, Norris with McLaren in 3rd, and Verstappen in 4th with Red Bull.
Yeah, indeed. So it's looking like it's going to be quite a good race weekend for Ferrari. So let's see how they can fare. Charles Leclerc had a couple of attempts in the last couple of laps there, but just made some issues there and wasn't able to get around quick enough. So just looking at our final bunch before we go on into the review. Sainz did top FP3, Russell in 2nd, Norris in 3rd, and Verstappen in 4th. So we've got 4 different constructors in the top 4, which is great to see. Of course, we want to see that bit of difference in the top 4 there, and I think it's going to make qualifying later very, very interesting. So what's going to happen now, guys, is we are going to end the stream, and please do not go anywhere. You're going to be pulled across into our qualifying stream, and we'll go and review it there, and let us know in the comments your thoughts on that stream. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next stream right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome